Are you live on something else? Because on the webpage, John, it still says still waiting for real truth and power.
Real truth and power.
I'm live.
No,
Health.
not on YouTube.
Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
All right, family, I know we got an important show to talk about with some real important issues. A lot of people have been asking me to do a show on it, and I got the number one person that's really going to make this a great show. Let me start the show right now. Hold on one second.
You are now tuned in to Real Truth and Power, the show that uplifts the community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Here's your host, Everett Winchester.
All right, people, without further ado, let me bring in my co-host. Before I do that, though, I just wanted to do this quick plug in. I got to do it. Make sure I put the word out. 925, if you are in the Baltimore area, that is going to be an event on the Why Not Lot, UNIA ACL, Peace and Unity event off of North and Charles, right off North Avenue. Come on out, support some black-owned vendors. We're going to have a couple of people speaking about peace and unity in our community. The UNIA ACL will be there pushing Garveyism. We have red, black, and green RBG flags to sell, the shirts. So just come on out and support, get some great food, live music. It's going to be phenomenal. And let me get everybody in. Let me bring in my guests. So let's talk about this question. Are blacks irresponsible for not taking the vaccine? I know we have a lot of people that are for, a lot of people that are against, but let's see what's going on. Let's see what this brother has to say about black people taking the vaccine. Hold on one second. Let me bring in my co-host. Peace and blessings to you, Brother James. That's a phenomenal shirt on. I'm glad you're representing today a true team. Even though they are the worst in the last 5 years, it seems like in the whole league. But
We're not gonna get on that. We're gonna stay positive.
there you go,
Peace
my
and
brother.
blessings, man.
Peace and
Race
blessings.
first, man.
Race first. So I'm glad I got you on. This is a very popular conversation that we're going to talk about today. Are blacks, particularly, irresponsible for not taking the vaccine? I'm not going to lie, I was hesitant on taking the vaccine, but for my livelihood and to move around, without as much restriction, I took it. You know what I'm saying? I took that gamble, and I had to trust in science, which a lot of people would say, you got to trust in your doctors and things of that nature. But you're coming at a different level, so let me give you the floor and talk to me. What do you have to say? Are we irresponsible for not taking the vaccine?
I don't think so, and I think that I love the way like you started it off, whatever, with with trust the science and trust your doctors. Before we even get into like the actual COVID vaccine, now that we can actually call it a vaccine, we should lay some groundwork around, the people that are entrusted in with giving us the science and entrusted in the health care and the government, that supports them. And it's also promoting like this vaccine. Because when you really start looking at the history of like some of like these companies that are producing this vaccine, you have to stop and ask yourself, like, when you say follow the science, whose science are we following?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, and that, if you just, give me just a little bit of leeway to go over exactly who it is that that we're actually dealing with, in the midst of like a pandemic. And Before we even get into that,
Go ahead. You got the
before we
floor.
even get into,
You
all
got the
right, before
floor.
we even get into the pandemic, let's get into this. The U.S. is ranked last in healthcare, my man. Last in healthcare. We were ranked last access to care, administrative efficiency, equity, and healthcare outcomes, despite the spending 17% of their GPA on the healthcare overall. And this is published by The Hill. Actually, on August the 6th today, report
Wow.
showing that we are worst in healthcare, despite the fact that we pay more than anybody else on the planet for healthcare. We are the worst. And going along with that, we live in a society where education is not key. Matter of fact, education is dumbed down. We have governors like in the state of Oregon, you know what I mean, that have written into law. Governor Kate Brown signed into law Oregon students to graduate without proving that they can write or do math, and she's not answering any questions. We live in a country where we spend billions of dollars, you know what I mean, combating homelessness. Where in Finland, they just bought places for the homeless to live. And it actually saved them money up to 15,000 euros per person. We live in a society where we say that we have a healthcare epidemic, but yet we spend billions of dollars on everything else except the healthcare system. And in the midst of all of this, you know what I mean, in dealing with like these pharmaceutical companies, where's the reform within the healthcare system? We've been last in healthcare for some time now. So before we even get into why one should even question or even think twice about taking the vaccine, we need to start thinking about who are we taking this vaccine from and what is this platform? We are living in a time where the Catholic Church has was given. I want to give you the exact figure because it is crazy, dude. It is absolutely crazy. The Catholic Church was given $1.4 billion in COVID relief, and this is the cover the cases that they've been sued over raping children. They've been given $1.4 billion to cover their court costs and to cover like the litigation costs. This is COVID relief fund. $1.4 billion. But yet, if I have a heart attack and I go to the hospital, that's on me. If I have diabetes and I have a problem with my diabetes, that's on me. I have any form of cancer and I have to be taken to the hospital with no health care, that's on me. But if I show up to the hospital and say I need to be tested with COVID, the government will cover that. We're in the middle of a pandemic where all of the doctors and physicians have said from the very start, you have to what? You have to improve your immune system. You have to build your immune system, exercise regularly, you know what I mean, and take proper care of yourself. But yet, in every situation where you actually need health care, the government isn't there for you. They'll test you for COVID. They're dumping all this money into COVID, but they're not dumping money into health care. They're paying healthcare companies, but they're not actually paying for health care. So when we start talking about, you know what I mean, like these companies that are producing like these vaccines, you know, let's just oh my Lord, man, I don't even know where to start, my man. This is because it's so outlandish, my man. It is so outlandish when you really start looking into it or whatever. Let's go back to 2000. I want to take you back to 2014,
Okay.
where you have. Give me 1 second, man. Give me one
Take your
second,
time.
real quick. Yeah, to find my notes, man.
So I like what you said first of all because when you were going at it, you were talking about before we even look at the vaccines, let's look at the state of our healthcare, which is very terrible. And it's funny that you mentioned that though that the government can provide other ways of using money, getting money to to support healthcare in different ways. For example, the vaccine. The vaccine is free for all. So with that money, I guess you're kind of calling them out a little bit, saying you're choosing to do what you want to do with this money. We could have a lot of free healthcare and things of that nature. Is that a suspicious thing that you feel like if they have the money and they have this or that to make healthcare better, but you're pushing the vaccine? Is that one of the issues you have?
It is one because I think it's a major issue because you're saying that you care about the well-being of people, but you're not actually promoting healthcare.
Hmm.
You're promoting a vaccine and a vaccine only, nothing else, just a vaccine. So if you were to go, you know what I mean, say like you were having like a problem or whatever, an adverse problem to like a vaccine, you on your own, my man. You're on your own. If you don't have health care, you're on your own. That's a bill that you're going to have to. That's a bill you're going to have to flip on yourself. You know what I mean? Yourself. You're going to have to come up with that money. That you know what I mean? You're responsible for that. But if you want to take the vaccine, we'll cover the cost. You know, if you have underlying issues that you want to get taken care of first before going to go and get the vaccine, that's on you. If you have, you know what I'm saying? So let's say like you have diabetes, uncontrolled diabetes, and you try to get like, hey, look, man, I don't want to take this vaccine because I know that that's one of like the things. I have high blood pressure. I know that that's one of the things, you know what I mean, that may cause adverse effects if I go and get this vaccine. So let me try to get this under control. And the government is like, cool, yeah, go and get it under control. But you getting it under control is all on you because we're not here to promote healthcare. We're not actually here to promote your well-being. We're here to promote a vaccine.
I
And
understand what
there's
you're
a big
saying.
difference.
Right. I understand what you're saying there. Now let me ask you this because I mentioned this earlier, and Brother Anthony had mentioned when we were talking about are you trusting science? He said whose science is right, and he just doesn't trust the government. Is that the major key that you're having an issue with? Trusting your medical doctors, trusting science.
Okay.
Because that's very important. You know, if I guess, you know, a lot of people say I don't trust science. Like you say, I don't like the police. I don't mess with the police. But somebody come breaking in your door, you're going to either have to bust a cap in them or call the police, or probably after you bust a cap in them, call the police. You understand what I'm saying? So at some point, we got to like trust the medical doctors. I'm asking.
Okay. I'm glad you asked that. So let's look at AstraZeneca. They're in, you know what I mean. They're also vibing to get their vaccine or their experimental drug, you know what I mean, approved as a vaccine. They have already paid out over $1 billion in federal fines and legal settlements for corrupting clinical trials and illegally promoting antipsychotics. They also had to deal with several other lawsuits filed by other drug makers, you know what I mean, that they got injected with like medicines that weren't actually, you know what I mean, proven to work.
All right, go back
That
because
don't
you.
really, that don't hold up. You see,
Go ahead.
when we start talking about the science, it's the science that they corrupted, and is the reason why they got sued because they lied about their trials. You understand? They lied about their trials, and this is the same group that's going to be next up to get approved by the FDA. So when we
No.
start talking about science, why would we trust these people? Because they already had several lawsuits piled up against them. How, you know what I mean? They paid over $1 billion in fines for corrupt information regarding their
I want
medicine.
you to repeat that. That was I want you to repeat that what you just said that you were pushing, but repeat that statement again.
Okay.
That fact that you're saying.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I got.
Uh-huh.
I
Because
moved my mouse
I want to
around. I
make
gotta
sure
get it back.
I jot it down. You know what I'm saying? If people have any issues,
AstraZeneca.
so say that again.
AstraZeneca
Okay.
has paid out more than $1 billion in federal fines and legal settlements for corrupting clinical trials. Your medication, your vaccine, whatever it is that you are pushing, is based on your clinical trial. So if you are lying about what's going on in the clinical trial, then you are lying about the drug. You are lying about its effectiveness. You are lying about its side effects. You are lying about how it actually works and how well it works. And you've been caught lying on more than one occasion. And yet, these are the people that the government turns around and hands over and says, we need you to produce us a drug.
Okay. Let me be devil's advocate. One
Okay.
might say, well, the government is catching them. They are fining them. They are, creating a penalty for these people that are, getting caught, and they're doing their due diligence and trying to make sure that the vaccine is safe for all. So
Yeah.
when you say that, someone will counteract and say a lot of the first vaccines weren't approved by the FDA. The government has been catching them. The government has been acknowledging some things that got by them, but all in all, the government has been doing their best job to possibly, you know, um, determine what vaccine is good and not, and catch people. To monitor it is what I'm trying to say. What do you
Okay.
say? What do you say to that in response to that? Like, okay, I got your point. This process that the government is doing, I mean, or the vaccine companies are doing, they're pushing this vaccine to make some money. They're lying and doing a lot of things to get by. So that's a good point right there, because what you're telling me is they could possibly get by the government. The government can make a mistake. But for those so-called people that love and trust the government, they're probably going to come back and say, well, the government has stats saying we've caught these people. What do you say about that? Because I want to make sure we're on point here with the title, Are Blacks Being Irresponsible? Someone may listen to what you're saying and say, yeah, that's a good reason not to take it. So I want to give the other reason and say, well, hey, if you're saying it's because of the government or you don't trust your medical doctors and so forth, here's a reason why you should trust them, because, they're doing their best to catch them. You understand what I'm saying?
Hmm.
What are your thoughts on
And
that?
then under the Obama, well, let me start with Joe Biden. Under the Obama administration, Pfizer was sued for one of the biggest lawsuits ever. You know what I mean? In pharmaceutical in history. You know what I mean? For a pharmaceutical company, Pfizer was. Joe Biden was the vice president. They paid out, I forgot how many billions of dollars. You know what I mean? That they paid out in this lawsuit. This is under the Obama administration when Obama said that they're going to try to do health care reform. What, it's been 6 years later? Joe Biden turns to Pfizer and asks them to make a vaccine. Not only, you know what I mean, that they turn to him for a vaccine, he says, I'm going to get you fast tracked to get this thing approved. Now, this is the same company that you were in the administration that got sued because of you know what I mean, practices and in creating medication and distributing this medication. You were there, administration. You knew exactly what was going on in the Pfizer when you were vice president, and yet when you became president, you said, I'm going to help you fast track this vaccine. You already know. Pfizer has been sued, I don't know how times, my man. And let's start off. Let's start off with the most egregious one.
Go ahead.
Was when they were in Nigeria, Kano, state of Kano, Nigeria, when they were giving out vaccines unbeknownst to the parents. They were going up to kids and giving them oral vaccines. These kids died. They got sued for millions of dollars, millions of. One of the people had the nerve to say, we don't need permission scenes on Africans in Africa. These are the people that you're dealing with. This is the mindset of the people that you're dealing with. Your life doesn't matter. What really matters is the bottom line. So before they even came up with the very first vaccine, they're already telling you a shot.
Hmm.
They're on 2020, 60 Minutes, excuse me. They're on 60 Minutes talking about the vaccine, Pfizer. If anybody has not seen the episode of a few months ago of 60 Minutes when Pfizer was on there and they're promoting the experimental drug that's now the vaccine. You need to go back and watch it because they clearly tell you it doesn't prevent COVID from being passed along. Doesn't prevent the spread of COVID. It doesn't stop you from getting COVID,
Oh,
and it
go
doesn't
hold
cure.
go, run that back. I want to make sure you got that across for anybody that say that again.
Pfizer themselves, the maker of the vaccine that just got approved
Hmm.
in 60 Minutes a few months ago, said that the vaccine is not going to stop the spread of COVID. It's not going to cure COVID. It's not going to stop you from getting COVID.
Hmm.
So, with those three things in place, what makes the vaccine any different than me not being vaccinated?
Okay, now hold your thought. Let me play devil's advocate there. And again, I'm no expert. I don't, I'm no expert on taking the vaccine,
I just
non
want to
taking
make
the vaccine.
clear that this is from Pfizer. These are not my words. This is what
I got you.
Pfizer, the
I,
actual maker.
I want to flow on that. I want to flow on that for a minute. So I understand what you're saying. So let me play devil's advocate because this is a conversation I hear a lot. I don't want to say barbershop talk because it's past the barbershop at this particular point. The vaccine doesn't stop you from getting COVID, but it also comes in with a booster system. Most vaccines, they give you a little bit of the disease and they give you the booster to fight it. I know there's different variables, but we're just talking in general right now, not the specifics.
Right, right, right. I agree
Um,
with
so for elders and a lot of people, they're saying that are getting hit real hard with the vaccine, especially a lot of unhealthy people. Because I want to say this real quick as well when we're talking about COVID. The best way, especially at any age, for you to survive this disease is to be in shape. It really, really damages people with illness. It really damages people that are out of shape because it's harder for you to recover. Most people that are overweight, they wind up getting on ventilators and things of that nature. Not saying that you're wrong or anything, just putting those facts out. So some will say to your point, hey, no, it doesn't cure the vaccine. I mean, yeah, no, it doesn't cure COVID or anything like that, but it boosts your immune system. It helps if you fight it. I think someone had told me, well, there was a stat to say if you got the COVID, your body would actually be better off fighting the COVID with having COVID before than the vaccine. But a lot of people can't handle COVID for that first time. It is knocking out a lot of people, putting them on their butts. So what do you say about that? Well, the vaccine doesn't cure, but it does help fight and boost. It does help and fight and boost the your immune system to fight against this disease. What do you say about that? Sorry for getting tongue twisted.
I think that yeah, we're hearing a lot of that it helps and everything, but I think that one of the biggest misconceptions is that what I mean that people can't handle COVID when the vast majority of people actually get over COVID. I mean, when you listen to the news, you'll think that what I mean. People catch COVID and they drop dead in the street like 2 days later. You know what I mean? I mean, honestly, is that not the vibe? You know what I mean? When the truth of the matter is, 95% of the people recover with no problems. 95, 99% of most people, 99% of the population survive. We're talking about a pandemic of something that has a 1% death rate. 1%. Now, does that 1% suffer? Does it actually affect more people with long term, like you said, people that have underlying diseases and variants in health? It absolutely does. And I tell everybody, protect yourself, do what you think is best for you. My only thing and my point is that we are putting our lives in the hands of people that only care about the money. They have shown again and again and again over years, not to actually care about healthcare, but to care about selling you a drug. It's shown. And with that in fact, the largest pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, is going to have to pay out $2.3 billion as a result of U.S. criminal charges that it illegally misbranded the pain medication Bextra. This was in 2005. Do you know how many other lawsuits that they've gone through since then? And this is my point, that we're not talking about a one-time thing that, oh, you know what I mean, maybe this was handled wrong, maybe this was handled wrong. It's all been handled with nothing but pure malice, because the only thing that really matters is the bottom line. So when you tell somebody that they're being irresponsible for not trusting somebody who's proven not to be trustworthy, it's ridiculous to me.
You
It's
mentioned
absolutely ridiculous.
you mentioned Pfizer, so you're telling all those people Pfizer was, if I'm not mistaken, the first ones to come up with Viagra, correct? You telling all those brothers
Yeah.
not to, you telling all those
Dude,
brothers not to pop the blue pills?
Pfizer sells a
Because
lot.
you
And
know
if
once
you
you
and if you
once
go
you go
back
after
and
them blue
research
pills,
Viagra,
go
that
ahead.
liquor will make you blind. One of the side effects is you will lose your vision. You have to, listen, man.
Because we have a few people on like YouTube and Facebook, couple people on Twitter. Just shout out Africa TV. We have a few people on different networks, and on a couple of different people. I want to just make sure that they know that you're coming after the COVID vaccine, not Viagra, because they probably all jump off once you attack that blue pill. That's a joke. But I
It's coming
understand
back
what
to
you're saying. But people will say I've been taking Viagra for years with Pfizer. I trust them as a company. Pfizer has a lot of. So I understand what you're saying. I'm always going to play devil's advocate because I don't have anyone to debate you. Some are going to say, man, you're looking at a couple of things, but we're talking about an extreme pandemic that's knocking out a bunch of people in phenomenal times, in unprecedented times, and we have to trust our doctor. If my doctor's saying I
okay.
have to take it, who's been taking care of me for a long, long time, and he's saying he's taking it, we have to take it. We have to be responsible for our people. What do you say to that?
I say two things, maybe three.
No shit.
One, the what most people and what the media, what all like the social platforms are doing are discrediting the actual healthcare workers that are refusing the vaccine. And they're just calling them crazy and so on and so forth. These are the same people that work through, you know what I mean, the main hit of of this pandemic without a vaccine. And now that they're refusing to take it, now they're being vilified. Now they're the villains. There are a bunch of doctors that speak out against the vaccine. But you know what happens to all of like these people? They're put into a light where it seems as though they're all discredited. You're discredited because you're not going along with what the mainstream says you need to go along. They're being discredited. And case in point, I'll give you the name of the person that for Morona. He's the
Okay.
one that actually started this somewhat like this before I even get into him, and we can get into like the discreditation of some of these doctors. When you say you trust your doctor, do you know anything about the Slacker family?
No, break that down. Slacker family.
They own Purdue Farm.
Okay.
They're the biggest. They produce OxyContin.
Okay.
So in the middle of, you know what I mean, while we're all talking about, you know what I mean, COVID, you understand that there's still an opioid epidemic that's even bigger.
Yes, without a doubt.
Okay. So when we say we need to trust our doctors and trust like the healthcare, what if I told you that the doctors that prescribed OxyContin were offered over $1,000 for every overdose?
Say that again.
Yeah, yeah. Doctors were offered over $1,000 for every overdose.
Wow.
Let that sink in.
Now,
Let
who's
that
giving
sink
the
in.
doctors
Because
this money?
hold on. It gets better. It gets better. CVS. was offered $14,000 for anybody that got hooked and had got an overdose. So when you say we trust our doctors, your doctors are automatically, they're already been undermined, because when you come in and your doctor sees like, this person is having a problem, they're struggling with like with this pain medication, I need to switch them off to somebody else, but they have a paid incentive to keep prescribing it to. CVS sees you come in and they see all the side effects that you are addicted to this drug. And instead of calling the doctor and saying, you know what, I think we need to give them a generic or switch them to somebody else, they have a paid incentive to continue to give you this drug. The doctor has a paid incentive because if you OD on your Oxycontin, they get a check. CVS gets a check. The sales representative in that location, that area, gets a check, not from you getting healthy, but from you getting worse. So when we say we have to trust our doctors and you know what I mean, the healthcare system, they are the very ones that are, they are the first ones in line to get paid by like these pharmaceutical companies. Right behind Congress and your local officials and the FDA. The FDA is paid heavily by these organizations.
Now I do feel you there that I do know I've done a lot of research in the past, not recently, but I do know about the game as to how it's rigged and how a lot of doctors get paybacks or whatever they call them. I won't say cutbacks, but I guess kickbacks is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
When they push vaccines, that is a known fact. You know, they're like, you know, we're going to push it. The more vaccines I push out, the more I can get a commission, or my office can get a commission. That is deep what you're saying right there. I feel you there. I've heard that before. What I want to ask you in rebuttal is, so what if I have cancer? I still have to trust that doctor, correct? You understand? So some may say it in a lot of different areas. So it's a lot of different ways you can look at it. What do you say to that? Because everything you're saying is true about the vaccines and how they're being pushed and stuff like that. I had a little feedback. Sorry about that. What do you say to those people? What do you say to those people that are going to come at you with, well, I got to trust the doctor. I just gotta trust them. I have, you know, what you trying to say? I shouldn't. What should I do if I have cancer or anything or disease or anything? These doctors are still
I,
giving me the same thing. What do you say is the
I,
alternative? Because I understand what you're saying by not trusting, um, this medical situation and the vaccine companies and everybody's. It's a money situation and it's a lot of money to be had. But at the same time, there is an illness. We have to fight this disease, and who else can we trust? What are the alternatives?
if you're going to have to pay, and if you come down with cancer, you're going to have to pay. If you can afford to, the best advice I can give you is to get treatment outside of this country. That's the best advice I can give you. Because my whole thing that I'm trying to get across to you, or to get across to everyone listening, is not just the vaccine. We have a problem with pharmaceutical companies as a whole. And if these are the companies that's going to send you your chemo, these are the companies that's going to do your dialysis. These are the companies that's going to give you your satin drugs. These are the companies that's going to give you your pain medication. Then you really need to start looking outside to other resources that you may, you know what I mean, that may be available. Maybe you have a cousin or a family member that lives in another country, and see if there's some type of alternative when it comes down to cancer, because cancer is so very expensive, and they're gonna hit you even if you know what I mean, your healthcare plan pays 90% of the cost. You know what I mean, 10% of $100,000 is still $10,000.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
They
facts.
gonna get you one way or the other. So instead of paying that $10,000 here, you might be better off taking a trip to Cuba and trying to get seen there because they have the best cancer doctors in the world. And it's not even going to cost you the thousands of dollars that it would cost you here in the States. You might be better off going to a country like Nigeria or Ghana that produces, or even India that produces, you know what I mean, thousands of doctors that come here to study and then they go home and practice medicine. You
Now,
see what I'm saying? Where in their own countries they're not pushing all of like these medications on you. And given a chance, we get into it. They're diseases and immunities that your body builds up to fight off. You know what I mean? The drugs after taking them for so long. The drug companies are in such a stranglehold on America. Let me give you an example, man. Tylenol. Who doesn't know Tylenol? Who hasn't ever taken Tylenol?
yeah, I haven't taken it in years, but yeah, that was like the headache drug, you know.
What if I told you Tylenol lobbied Congress for over 30 years, spent hundreds of millions of dollars just so they didn't have to put a warning label on their bottle to tell you if you take more than 8 in a day, it could cause toxic shock. It could cause long-term liver damage. Just a warning. Just a warning. Hundreds of millions of dollars for over 30 years lobbying Congress so they wouldn't have to put that label on. What if I told you that the FDA still to this day does not have any safe guidelines on how you should use Tylenol? And they did it all because they have already developed. They did it because they developed an antidote. So if you OD on Tylenol, they have an antidote that they can give you, that they can sell to you. They want to sell you the antidote. They want you to take as many. Oh my Lord, you feel like you're coming down with it? Take 2 pills. An hour later, it ain't going away. Take another two. Take another. They want you to overdose so then they can sell you another drug. I'll give you a prime example. My uncle came down with shingles. He went to the doctor. Doctor was like, okay, here, take this, you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? It's just, you know what I mean, take away some of like the pain. So he's taking the medication. He talking about he still can't put a shirt on because it burns so much, it hurts so much. Went back to the doctor, but then he starts getting side effects from this medication. So the doctor was like, okay, I'm going to prescribe you this for the side effects of that. A day later, he's calling her back because now he has to go and get another pill for the side effects that was taking up the side effects of the first pill. So now he's taking 3 pills, one for the shingles, the other two for side effects. He goes back and he's like, man, how many more pills do I have to take? And she was like, oh, you could have got the shot. He's like, what shot? He's like, oh, you didn't opt for the shot. Like, you ain't told me anything about a shot. Why? Because now she can give you the shot because she done already prescribed you A medication, B medication, C medication. Now I'm going to give you the thing that actually works. You muted.
I'm sorry, you're dropping a lot of information. You're dropping a lot of information. But you know, I need you to talk specifically about this vaccine. Are you just going out? Are you going to make the bold statement? Do not take the vaccine. The vaccine is not good. It's not working. No one should take it because you have a lot of elders. Um, you have a lot of elders. You have a lot of young people that are. You have a lot of people, period, young and old, that are out of shape. Um, you know, in our community, we don't eat healthy. I'm not judging. I'm starting to eat healthy, but we don't. You know, you know, in Baltimore, what do we? Our favorite meal is the chicken box, fried chicken, deep fried French fries. You know, salt, pepper, ketchup on the fries, hot sauce on the chicken, season all on the chicken. We don't eat healthy. A lot of us eating a lot of pork and everything like that. These people are out of shape. Are you telling them, you know, not to take this vaccine? Because that's a huge statement. I understand what you're saying according to the question. No, if they decide not to take it, they're not irresponsible. because there's a lot of reasons why you could. They have a lot of issues out there. I got you there. So I know there's a lot of issues why we shouldn't take the vaccine. So if someone like Lamar Jackson, for example, says, "Man, I don't know. I've been doing other research, like Brother JRICH. I'm hearing Brother JRICH. I'm kind of nervous about taking." So I can say, "Okay, Lamar, you're not being irresponsible." But to the average public, do we need to take this vaccine? That is the question I want to ask you now, because they're pushing it. Life is changing to the point where we're going to have to take it if we want to function and work. Employers are allowed to say now, if you don't want to work for me, fine, but I'm going to put in place that you have to have the vaccine. So, what do you say to those people that are now in dire needs to survive? They need to work. Are you saying don't take the vaccine, something's going to happen to them?
What I'm saying is that in December the 5th, 2020, Joe Biden said that the COVID vaccination in the U.S. will not be mandatory. That was his statement.
Drop
He
that
also made a
date.
statement that
Drop that date.
December the 5th, December the 5th, 2020, COVID vaccine will not be mandatory in the U.S. And that's on the BBC. If you know what I mean, I'm giving y'all all the information exactly where I'm getting this stuff from, so you can't say I'm
Now
just making
hold
it
your
up.
thought
Or
there.
this is
Now,
just some
now hold your
YouTube.
thought there, because I want to make sure we get the facts right, though. He did say that. I think he's saying governmental wise, they're not going to put it in law, but employers do have the right to say, for the safety of my business, for the safety of what we do, you have to take the vaccine. So for those people, are you saying, man, don't take it, leave your job?
Well, like I said before, man, you have to make the decision what's best for you. But let me ask you a question, because you and I work together, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, did you ever have any fear of getting hepatitis from me?
Did I get the hepatitis shot
No. Did you have any fear of catching hepatitis from me?
from the shot?
Hepatitis, huh?
You asked me.
No, hepatitis. Are you? I'm asking you. When we worked together, right across from each other,
Mm-hmm.
we sat there, we laughed, drank, coughed, sneezed, whatever. In your mind, at any point, did you ever feel as though you were compromising yourself, that you may be in the room with somebody that has hepatitis, which is much more dangerous than this COVID? At any point in time, did you even think about that?
I'm
Being in
go.
Baltimore,
I'm gonna say no, but
enlisted,
I'm gonna say
no,
no,
right?
but hold on. But didn't we had to take a vaccine for hepatitis at our
Well,
job?
you don't. You get tested to see if you have it.
Okay,
They
all
don't
right,
give you
okay,
the vaccine.
all right. You're right. We get tested. You're correct. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
I never thought about it actually. I never even thought about it. That's the last thing I was thinking about at that job. No.
yeah, yeah. Did you think about catching AIDS from me?
No, but no, I didn't think about catching AIDS, but I know I can't catch AIDS by, like, there are only certain ways you can catch it that I'm aware of.
Ah, ah, exactly. And one of the ways that only way that you can get COVID from one of your coworkers is if they actually have COVID. So saying, you know what I mean, that the workplace is unsafe, you have to actually prove that this person has COVID and that he's bringing it into the workplace. You see what I'm saying? They're making a problem out of something that is actually not a problem. And all of this is, to me, is scary. So am I telling people not to go and get the vaccine? What I'm telling people is they need to research who's actually making this drug and what other drugs have they made and what other things have they done that have been, you know what I mean, less than scrupulous. Because it's just like the gremlin. Does Ford make the gremlin anymore?
Not
No,
them.
you know why? Because the gas tank kept blowing up. So how much money would they have made if they would have kept on making like this car? Zero, because no one would have bought it. If I told you that right now, if you go out, you know what I mean, and you buy a new Toyota, you go buy a new whatever, there's a 99%, 97% chance that it's going to blow up on you while you're driving down the street. Would you go and buy it? And they had years of research showing that car is going to explode. Is that the car you were going by?
No, thought it out.
Okay. So these people have had years of showing you that their products, that they're making their products irresponsible, that they don't actually care about you. They're in the healthcare business to sell a drug. They are drug dealers. Your drug dealer isn't going to show up and be like, oh man, I got that dime bag for me, but I heard you coughing, so I picked up some Robitussin on the way too. They're not looking out for your healthcare. Listen, man, give me the money for the drugs and I'm out. That's it. We're dealing with drug dealers, and you have to take that type of mentality because that's the mentality that they have for you. You are nothing more than just a customer of their drug.
Hold your thought real
That's it.
quick. I'm looking at a couple of comments I want to get to, and brother Anthony, please drop your information in so people can contact you about your business, and as well as you, brother Mark Fuller. Um, who helps a lot of people with finances and so forth. He's saying a long list of things you list that people are doing wrong every day will not be cured by the vaccine. The death is everyday behavior and is still coming, and believing you are protected is more dangerous. I do believe that, and I think you made that point. The vaccine is not a cure. Um, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that while and my wife talks about this all the time, making sure, even though you're vaccinated, still, be careful, wear your mask as much as possible. I think they're looking at it like the vaccine is the cure, and they're walking around like we're free too loosely, and that's making it more. I think that's why the numbers have come up, especially the different variants. But I think that's the major reason. And brother Anthony has something that I wanted you to talk about as well. Due to research on alternative natural medicine, there is a natural cure for every disease under the sun. Dr. Sebi proved it. That is why he is not with us anymore. So what are your thoughts on what both of those brothers said?
I think that yes, you know what I mean. When you start looking into it, and people think that, oh, okay, I'm vaccinated, I can go and do this and I can go and do that, and then you know what I mean. You find out it's the people with the vaccination that's spreading the actual COVID more than anybody else because they have free reign to go and do whatever it is they want to do. So at some point, you know what I mean, it's going to get to the point where the only people that are actually spreading COVID, if they get their way, that everybody else has to just stay inside and die slowly. Then the only people that will be spreading it are the people with the vaccine. And at that point, that's when everybody wakes up and says, you know what? This might have been pointless. What was the point of me getting this?
That
But
that go ahead.
here's my question.
Okay.
What are the long-term effects? What are the long-term effects of this vaccine?
I don't know the effects of it.
What were the results of the study group? Who was in the study group? How many people did they study? How long did this study go on? Where were the results released to? Who has these results? Nobody knows. Nobody knows any of this stuff. You know what I mean? In what paper, you know what I mean? What medical journal or paper were the results of their study published that we can go and read? Exactly. Exactly. But
Here,
it's just like, oh, just trust us, just trust us. But these people have shown that they can't be trusted. And that's the main thing that I want to tell you. You know what I mean? That you have to actually look into the companies that are making this. And if their intention is to actually make you better or to make you sicker, because they already have another drug if you get sicker that they can sell you. They don't have another drug if you feel better. You see what I'm saying? And in a lot of cases, a lot of their drugs that they push make sure that you don't get better because they've already figured out what's the point of giving you one shot, you know what I mean, of something, and then, you know what I mean, you walk away and never come back when I can stretch it out and or know that there's side effects in there that I could weed out, but I'm not going to. Let's take Johnson and Johnson for instance, for example. Canada is no longer accepting doses of Johnson and Johnson. Finland is no longer accepting cases of Johnson and Johnson. Japan is no longer accepting, you know what I mean, vials of Moderna. You know what I mean? You have all of these countries that are rejecting these vaccines. But in the US, if you say anything about it, oh my Lord, you're spreading misinformation. So what's going on in the rest of the world, and what is it they're seeing that they know that's being blocked from us? If you want a well-informed people and a well-informed nation to be able to make intelligent decisions on their own, then you have to be willing to give them that information. Because, like you said, it's going to be plenty of people that's going to take that information and say, "I don't care. I'm still going to go and get it." I don't care if Pfizer got sued last month because, you know what I mean, 1,000 people dropped dead in North Dakota. I don't care. I'm still going to go and get it. I don't care that Johnson and Johnson knew asbestos was in their talcum powder for years, for decades, and all they had to do was return it. All they had to do was take it out and keep on selling baby powder. That's it. All you had to do was take it out. And they refused to do so. So when I tell you that this is the mindset, it's not about the vaccine. It's all about selling drugs to you and you having to pick your drug dealer. Are you going to pick Moderna? You're going to pick Johnson and Johnson? You're going to pick Pfizer. They all have proven they have a long track record of why you shouldn't trust them more than why you should.
Let me
Their products have killed people.
let me get to the chat a little bit because we're starting to bang up on me.
Can I tell you this real fast? One thing real fast before then.
Go ahead.
In the American Journal of Medicine, they've published. You know what the third leading cause in America is?
What's that?
The American healthcare system. They come in right behind heart disease. I'm laughing, but when you like think about that for a moment, the third leading cause of death in this country is actually the healthcare system.
That's crazy.
Let that sink in.
Well, it
Let
makes
that
sense
sink
if
in.
they're
When they
dealing
tell
with
you, you gotta be.
it makes sense, I guess, again, being devil's advocate, that they're dealing with people that are ill. So that's all I can say on that. But I understand what you're saying.
106,000 people die yearly or more from taking prescribed medication correctly.
Check this out. I'm assuming this is President Caesar Kajana. Shout out to my members in Barker and Clark. Universal Negro Improvement Association African Community League, 106, Barker Clark, Division 106. So what do you say if someone doesn't take vaccine on your advice and gets very sick or dies? What do you say to them?
I say the same thing to the people that took the vaccine and got sick and died. We all gonna die. We all gonna leave this planet. You know what I mean? It's 1% of the population, and this you can go. And this is what blows my mind. Go on the CDC. Go on their actual website. They'll tell you only 1% of the people that have come down with COVID have actually died from COVID.
Mark Fuller,
1%.
Mark Fuller says, what other 99% survival rate diseases are we panicking over? That's a good point. That's a good point. Mark, while you're on here, hopefully you're still on. Did you take the vaccine? Put that in the chat for me if you can. Saying that you did or did not take it. Shout out to my cousin, Alan Holland. They have a patent on that type of stuff. And that's where a lot of money is at. That's where a lot of the money is at. Is it bothering you that medicine is big business? Is it bothering you that medicine is big business? Is that one of the main things that disturbs you? That people are put something out there for money?
No, you know what? Medicine doesn't actually bother me. And if it was an actual vaccine, let's say they took a year to develop it, because we're talking about like with Moderna. You're talking about, you know what I mean? You are pumping something in and you are changing the molecular structure or adding to the structure, cell structure within people's bodies. And you're going to tell me within like a couple of months, you already know how this person is going to react and how that, you know what I mean, this protein that you're introducing into their body is going to affect them long term? You have no idea. You have no idea how that's going to work. And then when you start looking at all like the genetically modified foods that person eats, that he or she may or may not know about, how is that going to interact with like this protein that you are pumping into your body? How is that going to affect you long term? How is that going to affect you with the other medications that you're taking and other healthcare, you know what I mean, concerns you? You don't know. because it hasn't been tested long enough. It hasn't been tested on a wider part of the population. And then you have the people that were the pioneers in this type of medicine telling you that this is not a good idea. This is not going to end well. And some of the things that they say is going to happen, organ failure. You're going to have like blood clots. And what's happening with these people that are taking the Johnson and Johnson and the Moderna? What was some of the very first things that were happening with them? Blood clots everywhere. To the point where a lot of African countries are saying we're not using it. We're not using it. Don't send it over here. We don't want it.
You said something, and I was mean. I'm glad you mentioned this company, Johnson and Johnson, because they have they're starting to have a very, very, very long trail or history of products that they've been known about for years that have been hurting the community, especially like the black community, because we use a lot of their products back in the day. What was it? Something with the baby powder? Am I correct on that?
Yeah. It had asbestos in it. And they knew that it had asbestos in it. And all they had to do was remove it. And they refused to do so all the way up until they got to the Supreme Court, and they had to pay out millions, if not billions of dollars in lawsuits for something that could have been corrected decades ago. We're talking 20, 30, 40 years ago. You could have fixed the problem. And you didn't. You was just like, man, okay. As long as they buying it, I'm gonna keep on producing.
That's a good point. That's very powerful because that's one of the issues I had. I think just knowing how the drug administration is and how the medical business is, they go hand in hand, and a lot of these products are actually showing up drugs that they're pushing and getting a lot of people hooked on it, especially elders that take a lot of pain medication. You know what I'm saying? Things of that nature that they prescribe to them. I've been finding out that a lot of these medicines, I don't want to say vaccines now, I would say medicines that these drug companies are pushing are highly addictive, and there are a lot of natural ways the elders could do things. I do know that. So that's one thing why I'm really, really, really worried about the vaccine. I took it, but again, I'm really, really worried about, some of the things that could happen. But again, I just had to put my faith in, going at it. I do believe, though, that people that don't take it, they're not being irresponsible. They have good reasons to fear a vaccine that just came out. So I would never say that they're irresponsible. My main thing is business. I got to move. This was a business decision, you know what I'm saying, more than a health decision. The life insurance is ready, but I had to move in a way so that I could move, and the government is making it very hard to move without taking the vaccine. So that was one of the reasons I take it. Make $1 trillion and settle for $400 billion sounds like a good deal. That's right. I think he's saying that when you sue these companies, you know what I'm saying, and they're kicking out $400 billion, but they're making $1 trillion. That's not a loss. They can deal with all the fines that you were saying earlier, and I hope you got that stat still about, if you could redrop that, about I think it was fines in general, how much they were fined, or how many companies that were lying about the vaccine stats were fined. I wonder how much they made by pushing it, though.
Oh, they made like 10 times more than what it was that they got fined for. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Pfizer will pay 1.3 billion for illegal promotion of some of their drugs. But here's the thing. It turned out to be one of the largest criminal fines ever in the U.S. The 2.3 billion sum is less than 1 month sales for Pfizer. So they make more money than they got fined in a month. 1 month. So
Wow.
you get fined over $1 billion. By the end of the month,
You made that up.
you still made a profit. You still made a profit. Not in a year. At the end of the month, you still made a profit.
I want to
It's
know how
not
them
about
stock. I want to know how Pfizer stocks are right now. They probably off the roof because the government is paying for this vaccine.
You know the biggest thing is Before they even started making a vaccine, they were already given immunity by the US government that if this thing doesn't work out in 5 years, 10 years, and we find that a lot of people are dropping off because they took it, there's no recourse for them. You can't go back and sue them because they've been already been given, immunity before anything ever got put into a needle or pushed into your arm. They were already given immunity. So why do they care if it works or not? You understand? Why do they care if it works or not?
Mark Fuller, when the government of West Virginia announced today the infections of the vaccinated are up 26% as of today. I think somebody in baseball or something just got tested and was vaccinated. Not even a story on national news. Why? What are the people vaccinated from? Also, he said deaths among the vaccinated were up 25% in West Virginia. That's crazy.
When the Yankees went and got everybody on the Yankees team had to get vaccinated within a week, half the team had corona. The Nationals, half the team had corona. The Phillies, Florida Marlins, all of like these sports teams, these baseball teams that went and made everybody go and get vaccinated, still end up getting it, which was my point from the very beginning.
I want to talk about my Ravens because, Lamar Jackson is always under scrutiny, probably because of anything. He's a black quarterback. That's not the typical black quarterback. He looks like a black kid in the hood. You know what I mean? Has his cornrows. He might rock an afro. He has a gold chain. Politest and nicest guy in the world. Nobody debate that. But he has a look that I think really hurts his image because he doesn't look like, the friendly guy, the average QB, black QB, they would like to look. He looks like somebody that's in the city and looks that part. He said he wasn't taking the vaccine, and I was really bothered because not that he wasn't taking it, but what people were saying. They weren't saying he should take the vaccine because of this or that, and they were saying he was irresponsible, a few people. But most of the people were saying it because he could miss 2 weeks instead of 1 week. Vaccinated players, if they get tested, only have to miss, 5 days. Unvaccinated players have to miss 10 days. They were saying he was hurting the team or anything. That is the wrong way to come across to a young brother who seems to be trying to look for facts and look for someone to say, hey, this is the reason you should really take the vaccine. I think that's the issue I'm having a part of, and that's why I want to do a round two later with people that are pro-vaccines, for the vaccines, because, they saying this or that, but no one is actually saying, you need to take this because of this. And if you don't take it, this could happen drastically. It seems that people that are not taking it, they seem to be in good shape. I will say, though, I think that maybe elders should take it because of their age. And I've heard that they've been hit the worst by it. But I just don't have the knowledge or proof. The stats aren't there. The research isn't there for me to say
The
yeah.
research is there. They're just not sharing it with you.
Well, that could be. Well, it's not there. You know what I'm saying? I can't find it for sure. I can't find it for sure. What's your thoughts on that?
Let me say this. I think that and for me, it would be a much different situation. Let's say if they contacted the University of Maryland, somebody independent, somebody that hasn't gone through this, somebody that doesn't have really anything except like the school notability and notoriety to say like we were the ones that came up. Whereas Pfizer has a bottom line that they're looking for. Well, you know what I mean? You didn't go to MIT. You didn't go, to any of like these prestigious colleges with like extensive, biotech research labs all over like the world. Maryland is all over the world, man. When you really think about it, you know what I mean? Maryland is not just in this state. The University of Maryland has branched out into the world. They have campuses all over. So we're talking about a very large institution that would be able to connect with people and in other countries and bring together lots of different minds. And I'm not just saying the University of Maryland. I mean the University of Notre Dame is the same way. You know what I mean? And you have like a lot of other prestigious schools in this country that you could have turned to that would have had, you know what I mean, more to gain through notoriety than from their stock. You know what I mean? Because they're not traded stock on Wall Street. Pfizer has a bottom line that they're looking at. They're not, and since you've given them immunity, they don't care about a death rate. They don't care if the drug is even, you know what I mean, if the drug even works. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We're still getting paid. They don't care about anything but the money. They don't care. They don't even care about the lawsuits, my man, because they are making money on top of money, and that's their only. But you have a young, hungry scientist. You have a young, hungry doctor that is working at a university that actually wants to be a part of actually making something that's going to save what they see as saving humanity. You don't entrust it to them. You entrust it to people that under you, that in the administration you were in, investigated and sued.
So
You sued them.
I,
And then you
I
turn around and you ask them to make a vaccine. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't want to hold you up too much long, but I got a couple more questions for you. Um, has your mom been vaccinated?
Say that again?
Your mom, has she been vaccinated?
Yeah, she did. She took the Johnson and Johnson.
How long ago?
She did it over the summer.
Okay. How about your wife?
Yeah.
Okay. And they seem to be fine from it.
Yeah. Because we don't, yeah. For right
So
now, yeah. What, man?
say in maybe another 6 months they don't have any issues from the vaccine. Would you decide then, hey, I may want to take this?
You know what will make me decide to say like, okay, maybe. Again, if one, it was done through a reputable company, you know what I mean? A reputable company. Two, if there were long-term studies to show that there are little to no long-term effects. Three, it actually works. You know what I mean? And so far, out of the three things that it would take, not one of these companies match up to any of like the three things. None of them are reputable. None of them can show long term, you know what I mean, effects and or you know what I mean, and or long term complications with it. And three, none of them has shown it to be effective. As my man A. Holland just put up there, Joker, death rates among the vaccinated are up 26%. So it hasn't proven to do anything except make money.
Now I will say this: I stopped taking the flu vaccine. I've heard a lot of things about the flu vaccine. I'm not. I don't want to. I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. So if I'm wrong, I'm not saying this is a fact, but I think one of the vaccines, and I think it was the flu, had maybe lead products or something in it. I'm not sure. Um, but I got sick off the. I used to get really sick, and we were being in the medical field that we were in. We both were well. You still are in the medical field, and I was been in. That's pretty much my knowledge as far as work, being in the medical field, dealing with patients. We were not forced, but pretty much told that they definitely would recommend the vaccines. And I think if we were drivers, I used to be a medical driver when I first started, they would say you had to take the vaccine. I used to always get sick off of it, like real sick. It was like if I would get sick from the flu, it wouldn't be worse than I got from the vaccine. And I remember going in and the doctor saying, you may not want to take it. Maybe you just get affected by the flu, and the vaccine we're putting the flu in you pretty much. So maybe it's hit or miss for you, where if you get it, it won't be as bad as us giving it to you. He didn't know. He really didn't know, and that kind of scared me. So when he couldn't tell me was it that I needed to take it, I just haven't taken it before. I mean, I stopped taking it. So, what are your thoughts on vaccines in general? Is it just a COVID vaccine or vaccines, period? Because that's another thing. A lot of people don't take vaccines, period.
Yeah. Um, I have a problem with it's the same companies, man, that make all the vaccines. They're the exact same companies. I have a problem. I have a problem with the companies that make vaccines because they are not invested in healthcare and your well-being. So I have it's not the vaccine. If you have a vaccine that actually is going to wipe out something, I mean, I'm not stupid. Of course, that'd be a great idea. But if you have a company that's not actually invested in getting rid of or eliminating some type of disease, they're not actually looking to eliminate a disease. They're looking to sell a drug. So if they can sell you this drug and tell you that it's going to eliminate this disease, then that's what they're going to do. And we've seen that that's exactly what they have done for decades. You know what I mean? And that's what they're doing now.
Hold on, brother James, before we close out. Alvin Holland, I need you to do me a favor, my brother. Go to my YouTube channel, Real Truth and Power. Click on the last show I did right before this one. Brother Abdullah Shabazz, he got a video. He said the video was like years, like 7 years old, but he's actually still writing and rapping. It's a strong brother, a UNI brother out of Chicago. If you're still doing beats, I want to connect y'all too. He's a tight artist. So check that out. Brother James, what I'm going to do is, because people don't know, this is just part one. For you to relay a point that that why we shouldn't be taking the vaccine. I think you made some positive and a strong case for it. Part two, we're going to have you not going at it debating, because we don't debate here. We have intelligent conversations where we build as men. So I don't want people to think it's a debate. We don't use that word. We come in and we beat each other. We beat each other up with the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to have part two sometime this week. But I want you to just close out and just pretty much, give a strong case for why you're encouraging people not to take that vaccine.
Well, I'm encouraging people to do their research and to look into whatever it is they can do to keep themselves healthy. If you feel as though taking a vaccine is that measure, by all means do so. But I think that you know what I mean. One of the biggest problems that we have in this country is the biggest component of misinformation is coming from the government itself. If you say or do anything that is alternative to their plan and rolling out 100% vaccination, then everything that you say is going to be conceived as misinformation. I posted up on my IG page that suddenly, you know what I mean, we went from having like hundreds of thousands of deaths, you know what I mean, related with the flu to less than 200 in the country.
He just said that.
And all of a sudden,
Somebody
all of a
just said.
sudden, they tagged me, telling me like, "Oh, you giving misinformation." It's not misinformation. That's information from the Center of Disease. You know what I mean? Straight from the CDC. Those numbers came straight from them. We went from almost 200,000 deaths a year and the flu to 200. How is that possible? How is that possible? It's not. But if you say anything that is contrary to take the vaccine, just take it, wear your mask and take the vaccine, then all of a sudden you're a conspiracy theorist. So when we get into the drug companies, these big pharmaceuticals, they pay your doctor to give you certain drugs. They pay the hospital to give you certain drugs. They pay the drug stores to administer these drugs, even when they see that you are suffering from the side effects of this drug and that you may be, you know what I mean, having adverse reactions to them and or becoming addicted to them, then they get a bonus. Think about that for a moment. They get a bonus when you get sicker, not when you get better. These are the companies that the Biden administration, that under his administration, under him and Obama, actually investigated. And then you turn around and you hand this thing over to them, knowing the 50, 60, 70 years of corruption that have gone under these companies. You have companies that have made trillions of dollars that have been fined for pennies. And then you tell everybody else, oh, you should just trust the science. Well, the science says that AstraZeneca has been fined over $1 billion for corrupting the science. Pfizer has been fined billions of dollars for corrupting the science. Johnson and Johnson has been sued for billions of dollars for not following their own science. These are the companies that are making the vaccine. It's not, you know what I mean, some unknown researcher that just wants the betterment of society. These are
Ho-
people that just want to better their bottom line.
Hold on real quick before we close out. Shout out to my sister, Dr. Maat. She is on, and she said she had a few questions for you. And you may have already answered them, but Dr. Maat, drop a couple in there. He can run through them real quick. I told him I may try to get. I want you to get Brother Uncle on too, so they can have an intelligent conversation, as we don't say debates on Real Truth and Power. We just want to have good bills. But yes, we can hold on if you got a couple of questions you want to drop in the chat. Or let me know if you want to pop in real quick. I can give you the link if you would like to do that. But hold on, Mark Fuller, let me get a couple more comments in while we're seeing if Dr. Ma can put that in. Mark Fuller saying, could we have flooded the country with vitamin C, D3, zinc, etc.? What else would we have cured if we have done that? So that's good. That's good information as well. Hold on here, Dr. Ma has a question. Is he opposed to all vaccines or just the COVID shot?
I'm opposed to the companies that are making the vaccine, actually.
So in a sense though, be a little more. I want you to be a little more deliberate. So if you're opposed to the companies, you're opposed to the vaccines.
I'm opposed to the company because they have a track record of nefarious behavior. I'm opposed to them. We don't know what the long-term effects of this vaccine is. We don't know. And that's the problem.
But
We
what
don't
about
know.
just
There's the
just
reason.
just vaccines in general? You don't have
Just
so,
vaccines in
do,
general.
do you have an
Just
issue with
vaccines.
yeah? Because you see where we're going, because it could be borderline. It could be your message could be borderline, and I think everybody wants to make sure, because when we say COVID, we start reaching into all vaccines at the end of the day. We start
Yeah.
reaching into all vaccines.
I'm mad against vaccines that actually work, that are made by reputable companies, and that have a track record that's shown that they don't have long-term effects, negative effects on the person. Whereas we have too many people and too many pharmaceutical companies that fall short of all three of those things, and these three companies fall short of all three of them. Let me give you the measles, mumps, rubella. That's the little shot that you got to get when you're a little kid before you can go to school. You have to have so many of them by the time you turn whatever months, 2 months, 6 months, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Around 1980, 1990. Don't quote me on this, because I'm going off of memory, because I forgot to write it down. I'm going off of
Oh
memory. Let's
Lord.
say around 2000. Let's say around 2000. They started adding mercury to this vaccine. Now, the amount of mercury that was added to this vaccine, and they said as a preservative, was given to infants and given to small children. Within days of these children getting this vaccine, they came down with autism. From 2000 up until present day, the number of children in the U.S. that have gotten autism has increased over 400%, and it's all linked to the mercury that's been put into this vaccine. So it's not the vaccine that I'm actually against, it's against the additive that they've added into. Whereas within 5 to 10 years, Europe figured out what was going on, and they told them, listen, you can't push this vaccine anymore in Europe until this additive is taken out. So they took it out. When my daughter had a son, and I was just in, when my daughter had the baby and she was asking me, I was just like, we have to find a way to get the vaccine that they're giving to kids over in Europe, because it is known to have that additive removed from it that is causing autism. The CDC had hundreds of research reports and studies done on the MMR vaccine, knowing and showing that this additive caused autism. They denied it for over 20 years up until the beginning of this year. They finally admitted it, but they still haven't done anything to make these pharmaceutical companies remove it. And that's the problem that I'm having. That's the thing that I'm saying to you. It's not actually the vaccine that I have a problem with, because the MMR vaccine was fine until they added in this additive that actually triggered autism in children. And instead of like a responsible government stepping in and saying, hey, you can no longer sell this because it is detrimental to the children, what they did was pass a law that says every child has to be vaccinated. That's what they did in the alternative. Not fix the vaccine, but force every child to have it. Whereas in Europe, they was just like, no, this is causing a problem. You need to take it out. You understand what I'm saying? So I can't sit here and say that I'm against vaccines, because I'm not actually against vaccines. I'm actually against the pharmaceutical companies that make them, because they do dirty stuff all the time. And this right here was a big one because the CDC knew about it. They knew about it for decades and they did nothing about it except hide the fact of what was going on. Then they gave them immunity, and then they forced everybody to take it.
All right, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. I think it's gonna go in under. It's gonna be by UNIA. It's gonna be by the UNIA from Baltimore. Caesar, I texted him. He's gonna put that in the chat for me, so we can get some people to pop in, because I think we got some people that want to talk to you, Brother James, because the title was very important. And they want to make sure that we're getting some good information to the people. So hopefully you guys can see that in the chat. If he put that in there for me yet. I don't know why I couldn't put it in from here, but he's supposed to be putting that in. Let me know if you guys see that in the chat.
I'll send you the information on the CDC, and I'll send you the names and the studies that show, you know what I mean, that this additive in the MMR that was added in within like the last 20 to 30 years actually does cause autism. I will send you the studies and you can look for yourself. And the CDC also has these studies. And when every time that they were subpoenaed by Congress to turn over their study results, they tried to redact all information showing the link between the additive and autism. It went on for 20 years. I'll send it to you. I'll get your information from Evan.
All right, hold on. I'm going to put it in the chat here. Let me know if you guys don't see it. Gas.e / So you're very passionate about this. And I told them I wanted them to get you with some information, because I want to make sure that we get, all sides of it. So let me know if that doesn't work. I might have typed it in, but I did put something in there. Let me know if you guys can see it. I can't see it from my end. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can see it.
You can see it. Hopefully that's the right one. Does it look like it's right from the one on top? It's late.
I don't know what the wrong one looks like.
So put in the chat if you guys can't get to that one, but that should be the one I'm hoping. That should be the one. But it's very, I think it's just very important, because a lot of people are very passionate about this, you know what I'm saying? And they want to make sure that you are providing good information and good facts. Because I'm not going to lie, again, I told you when I had that flu vaccine, it got me really sick. I was kind of hurt off of it. Oh, shoot, okay, let me put it back in. Okay, yeah, it might be sensitive too. Let me do it this way. I apologize, y'all. So I want you to go into that a little bit while I put this in the chat real quick, so we can get some people up here to talk to you. Because I think it's real important that, we get the right information out. We don't want to be irresponsible, but I also like the fact that you are putting your case out. I have these conversations with my family. We have my kids are young. and they hopefully I did it right. Please double check, y'all. And they are my kids. They're not trying to get into the into it. So that's the thing there. Hold on, somebody's coming in now. Just be patient. Let me pull this up. All right, so that was something that was something that I'm definitely worried about, was the fact that that we have that out there, and I want to make sure that we're being responsible with the information. Oh, all right, hold on. All right, my bad. All right, let me put it back in one more time, and I got you covered. All right, hold on 1 second. I got y'all covered. Hold on one more second. Sorry about that, brother Jay. I apologize, y'all. Had a long day today, but we're gonna get through this because I really want to make sure I get that information out, and we act responsible when we do it. You know what I'm saying? Sorry. Here we go one more time. All right, I'm gonna take my time with it. So, brother James, while we flowing on this, just give me a little heads up. I know you had a phenomenal meeting Saturday with the UNIA. We want to plug that in, talk about some positive things that's going on with them. Well, I make sure I take my time and allow our guests to come in to talk to you.
I mean, we have a event coming up. I believe it's on like the 25th at the Why Not Lot in Baltimore. We're hoping that as many people as possible, man, can come on down and check us out. We're looking into trying to start up other little programs, whereas one of the programs I would really like for us to get rolling is a healthcare clinic. So for things like this, because this is one of my biggest things with this whole COVID thing, is that absolutely nothing has been done to improve the healthcare system within this country. Millions of billions of dollars are being dumped into the healthcare system, but not for its improvement, not for its overhaul, and not for people to be able to have access to quality healthcare. So that's one of the things that I would like to do. The other thing we're looking into doing is having food drives and just showing up at different parks like Druid Hill Park, and you know what I mean, just passing out food. We're looking to try to do a couple of things across the board. You know what I mean, to get back and just promote. You know what I mean, not only Black family but Black unity, man, and bringing us all together, man, because we all we got. That's it, man. We all we got. And if we don't start looking out for each other, then ain't nobody else gonna look out for us. So I hope that y'all come out, support. Even if you buy something, you buy something. Even if you don't, just come and just smile. You know what I mean? Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that's even a blessing. You know what I mean? Just to smile at somebody is a blessing. So come on out and just smile at us.
Now, first of all, brother Unc, I forgot you had Abjuwear, so I got a lot of gear from there. I got my Marcus Garvey shirt from there. So before you get in, hit a plug for that, because with the UNIA, we always want to promote Black-owned businesses, and you got some powerful RBG stuff. I think the white shoes, I'm not sure if I got them from you or the real manufacturer, but they were called UNIA, so I got a few different ones from you. Nagas is what I was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he the godfather of the shoe industry in the Black community.
That's right.
And so, what he did was he kind of taught me the business, man, and gave me my plug in that. So I shout out to Tariq, man. I appreciate him. Most people get in business, man, they don't want to teach the next guy.
That's right.
He just, when I was ready, and he just stretched out and taught me what I needed to learn. So yeah, I call him the golf. That's brother Tariq, man. Shout out to him. And thank you for bringing me on the platform. The store is called Abjuwear. ABDJUWEAR. We got on our No Pseudo Square Hood, Pseudo Killers. Shout out to Dr. Oya Mayat, the Amaral Squad, Master Clan Warriors. We write books. And, we doing our thing. We just really educating the community and how y'all brothers doing.
We doing good, brother. We doing good. I have reached out to Dr. Ma'at because I'm a huge follower of you guys, and I know you did a phenomenal debate. I was very proud of you. Was debating some senators, the Kennedys, and all of that. Some powerful people. And you guys represented well. My brother here, we all have, of course, being black in our culture, we all have issues with the vaccine. Um,
Sure.
and a lot of people on here, they're stating like they're not really for it. But I know you're pro-vaccine, so I wanted maybe you hit them with some knowledge, and you guys can have a good build. And maybe you could educate some people from your point of view.
Well, no, I will never educate from my point of view. I always educate from a scientific perspective. I always rely on the experts, and I'm a science advocate. I promote scientific literacy in the black community. This is one of the things that we let fall by the wayside. So, like you say, we have the UNIA, we have all these different organizations, but at the end of the day, we seem to think that science is a white thing, like the white science. That's a misnomer. That's absolutely not the truth. Dr. Oye Mayat, she's in the field. She's an engineer, and she actually teaches black students. So I just want to make sure that the information is correct. It's really not my job to tell you to get the vaccine or not. It's really my job is to stop the poison disinformation that's being promoted by the European community. Is really what I'm here to make sure it doesn't happen, right? And I mean, just across the board for our community, there's a disinformation campaign that has been weaponized against the black community. And so we'll claim we black, we buy black, or we blackity black, but we have allowed charlatans in our community to make the misinformation I would like to say, I don't want to say crazy, but they are quacks. Yes, quacks. European quacks. Distrusted quacks that was thrown out of their own white community. Now you'll find people promoting them in our community. We're
Right.
making it palatable because we're not going to listen to a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He can barely talk. But we'll take his website, we'll take his information, we'll bring it in. The Nation of Islam has done the same thing. They've passed out pamphlets of misinformation using discarded Europeans. So I'm very confused when we have platforms that promote blackness, but yet we're really promoting distrusted Europeans. That is the most craziest thing to me. And I understand, I really do. 90% of America is not scientifically literate. So if 90% of America is not scientifically literate, then you can just imagine how the black community is really taking it. So, we're being tricked. So let me just deal with the first mistake that was made on the platform. He talked about additives like mercury. Well, the product is called Thermosol. I think he talked about that. But that's not in the mRNA vaccines, the new ones. This is the third generation. It only has the messenger in it. All it has is saline salt, water, sugars, and fats. That's it in the message. No additives. This is one of the cleanest vaccines we have. So we need to really get that one straight. We want to always deal with proper information. You could just look that up. Look up what's in the mRNA vaccine. It's actually just the message that actually creates the fake spike protein. It tricks the body into thinking that the protein, the spike protein, the thing that actually connects to your cell is in the body, and your body produces antibodies to that. So we just need to get that straight. And by the way, we did a show and talking about poisons. This National Geographic magazine talked about poisons, 12 toxic tales. And it's basically, that basically everything on planet Earth can potentially be a poison. So that's not the deal breaker. We're really talking about the amount. It talks about like oxygen is a big one. Who knew that oxygen was actually a poison? Let me show you real fast. So um, watch this. Even oxygen has a sinister side. Oxygen is the ultimate toxin, says Michael Trush, a toxicologist at Johns Hopkins, Bloomberg School of Public Health. Oxygen combines with food to produce energy, but our bodies also produce oxygen radicals, atoms with an extra electron that damage biomolecules, DNA, proteins, and lipids. It say we are oxidizing all the time, says Trush. It says the biochemical price of breathing is aging, which is to say we rust. So who knew? Water. Water is also can be a toxin. Let me see. Watch this. Watch this. Poisons surround us. It's not just too much of a bad thing, like arsenic, that can cause trouble. It's too much of nearly everything. Too much vitamin A, hypovitaminosis, vitamin A, it says, can cause liver damage. Too much vitamin D can damage the kidneys. Too much water can result in hypernostremia. It says a dilution of the blood salt content, which disrupts brain, heart, and muscle function. So who knew that water and oxygen and vitamin A and vitamin B? Right. This is a job for scientists. This is not a job for us kicking around at the bar, just saying anything. So who knew that everything was a potential poison? We're talking about the amounts of women that breastfeed. Uh, they have formaldehyde in the system that occurs naturally. So when you're breastfeeding, you actually give your baby higher levels of formaldehyde than the vaccine ever contained. But this is based off the educational process that we got to know. So just for the record, the mistake that was clearly made was that the mRNA vaccine has some type of adjuvants in it. They absolutely do not. And for the record, there has been no scientific study that remotely proves that vaccines cause autism, and there's a reason for it. Because autism actually occurs in the womb, okay, before the fetus is developed. As it starts to develop, they know this because they've taken pictures of aborted fetuses, right? They can actually tell which one was going to actually produce, was going to express autism later on, based off the gray matter in the brain. So they look at the CAT scans and they could actually tell. And then they figured out there's over 100 genes that are actually associated with autism, having nothing to do with the vaccine. So what I'm saying is, in the womb, a mother will carry a baby that could potentially have express autism. The problem is that autism expresses in the newborn baby around maybe 18 months. This is the exact same time you get your full payload of their shots. And so I could see a mother looking into their baby for 18 months. If the baby is paying attention, alert, and they get his shots, and voila, all of a sudden it's starting to go downhill. It's not because of the vaccines. We're talking about genes, right? They've identified that. There are also biochemical things that are going on in the area, I mean, in the atmosphere on planet Earth that we need to work on, but it's definitely not vaccines. I just want to let you know that vaccines does not change or alter DNA. Has nothing to do with that. So we just need to really, really sharpen up. So there is no studies, right? I have a book called, I don't have it right. Yes, here you go. Watch this. Let me get the book real quick. Right here. It's called Vaccines. Okay, Vaccines did not cause Rachel's autism. That's Peter Hotez. He's the foremost authority on a vaccine. He was actually doing the work on coronaviruses vaccine, coronaviruses, and he kind of lost some funding. This was early in the game. So there is no science, no nothing. It was actually Wakefield that did a crazy study on just 12 people, and it was crazy. And they published it in the I think it's in the Lancet, and they actually looked at it and they took it out. So that study got passed based on some nonsense, and they figured out it was nonsense. They took it out. The guy Wakefield was actually on a vaccine. I think it was a suitcase, and that's conflicting interest right there. You can't be a doctor getting money for the suitcase and being the professional on the subject. Like, that's just crazy. So the whole thing is crazy. But since then, they've done mega studies of millions of children, and out of the millions of studies of over the millions of children, they have not found that vaccines anywhere comes close to actually causing autism. So I just wanted to just tell a brother that, so we just clear. Now, if you have some evidence or some scientific information to verify that, then the conversation is on. And one last point: Whether vaccines are safe or not, that is not a debate in the scientific community. Whether vaccines work or not, that is not a debate in the scientific community. There are three prongs to this. Okay, there's politics, there's science, and there's media. So there's a debate in politics, right? There's a debate in the media, but it's not a debate in science. Science has answered the question. 225 years have proven that vaccines are safe. Not to mention, the first inoculation takes place in North America based off of slave colonies inoculating themselves. So the Africans brought inoculation from Ethiopia, from the Sahel, and specifically from West Africa, Onesimus. So we was practicing this high level West African science. I argue that the West African science is one of the greatest inventions known to mankind to fight against disease. This point right here, I am clear. West Africa, they are the masters of herbs. So we're talking about people who built a tradition off of herbs. The question is, how is it that a culture that built tradition and religion off of herbs, they call it medicine, how
Right.
is it that they abort the use of herbs in the cases of viruses and move to the high level science of inoculation? And why is it that people in our community are pushing this European narrative of giving the supplements, the herbs, right? Against the high level African inoculation system. See, that makes no sense. But let me not talk y'all to death. I just want to kind of lay that out. Something
No.
that's really, yeah, I love the conversation. Like, yeah, I've been up for this. Oh, last point.
Go ahead. You
Yeah, I
flow.
debated the community. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Dell Big Tree, scientists, and all of them. Shout out to Dr. Oyama. She had me ready. She put together some slides for me, and I finished them off with that. So I'm just saying, like I'm ready for this. And by the way, this is before the pandemic. So
That's
I've
true.
been gouging in the community prior to the pandemic coming in because
That's true.
I've read the works of, see, I've read these works. Deadliest enemy. See?
That's it.
Yeah, like talking about the MERS and the SARS. So I already understood there was the potential to have an outbreak based off the reservoir of viruses in bats. So science is predictive. Okay, you can predict what's going. So I was ahead of the game. I was like a year ahead of the curve of everybody talking about vaccines. By the way, subscribe to the channel, Pseudo Killers in the Science with Sean, and find all your uh, vaccine information. So yeah, I'm here. What's up? Shoot.
Now, Brother James, I know you're against the vaccines. Did you have any questions for the brother? You have anything to put out there in your defense of what you were saying
Well,
earlier?
he was correct. I was wrong about it was the thermal. I can't pronounce it, but yeah, he was right. So that was correction. But he was wrong. It was put into the vaccine, and that was noted by Dr. John Joseph Morona of the Illinois Natural Health Center, the University of Kentucky as well, and there's a couple other ones. But we can get into that on part two. What was that first book that you were quoting though?
You said Thermosol is not an mRNA vaccine. It was in the other one. They took it out though, because people cried so
And
much
that's
about
what I
it.
said. That's what I
Okay.
said.
Yeah, but you made a mistake. You said the mRNA. It's not an mRNA vaccine. That's the third generation vaccines.
Okay.
You want to name the book? It's called right here. This will kill any of that autism talk right here. It's over with. Yeah, vaccines did not cause Rachel autism. This is a vaccine
Okay.
scientist. Yeah, and his daughter actually got caught had autism. So this is yeah. You're not getting past this. Not getting past Peter Hotez. Matter of fact, I'm proud of Peter Hotez because before the pandemic, he was on Joe Rogan's show, and Joe Rogan was like, "Man, why don't you step up and debate that John F. Kennedy and the boys?" He was like, "Man, I'm a scientist. I don't know how to debate." He said, "But science has to address it." So I just want to let you know that science was not addressing the question because they felt like it's just a bunch of nonsense. But go ahead, brother.
And I think, but
No.
before you go on, Brother James, I think Brother Unc, you said something that's important. I think sometimes people think that science is they say white man science, so you kind of get a little pushback from our community when they hear the word science. They don't want to trust. And I think Dr. Ma'at says something important too to Brother Anthony. When we start talking about holistic, that, you know, the only true medicines all come from natural products. At some point, you have to go get that plant. But go ahead, Brother James.
The When you start talking about science and everything else, I agree with science. I don't have any problem with science. And my whole thing this whole time that we've been on is that the companies that we are trusting to come up with this science and or to use this science have a horrible track record. And that's why I said, like, why wasn't a university? Why wasn't a hungry doctor? You know what I mean? Someone other than someone that's looking at their stocks, someone that's looking at the people, at their investors, someone that's looking at something other than their bottom line, be put in charge of coming up with a vaccine. And that right there is my biggest problem with like the vaccine. When you in under Obama, you investigated and sued Pfizer, and then you turn around and you entrust them with like putting out promoting a vaccine after you've given them immunity for it, when they've already shown that their track record is all about money. And it's the same with Moderna. It's the same with AstraZeneca. It's the same with Johnson and Johnson. My problem isn't with vaccines. My problem is with the pharmaceutical companies that produce these drugs, that pay doctors to give out these drugs, and so on and so forth. That's my problem, is the people that are actually making it. How do I go about trusting them when they've shown that they it's about the dollar? It's not about my health care. They don't care about anything about my health care. They care about selling their drug. They're drug dealers.
So you got that, Brother?
No, yeah, I get it, but once again, as we understand what science is, science is not based off of trust, and so he spoke of the vaccine companies have immunity, and well, reality is you cannot directly sue a vaccine company. There's a reason behind that, because crazy white people was just suing for any daggone thing. The vaccine companies like, whoa. We don't gotta make them because we make more money off our other pharmaceutical drugs. So y'all can make the vaccines. We cannot go through this with any Tom, Dick, and Harry just suing us out of nowhere for nonsense. So the government came up with a plan. It's called Vaccine Court. Look it up. We got the documents. Go to the Journal of Nature, no, the Journal of Science, and type in Vaccine Court. It would explain to you what it is. So they set aside monies that you can actually sue if there happens to be a vaccine injury where you could get monies. It's always been there. They just don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry coming out of off the roof suing them. Like, that's ridiculous, because our health is at risk. Okay, so there are things. Dr. Miyot put together some slides and it talked about the actual things that were eradicated based off of these vaccines. So it's a health issue and is important. So I just want to know, yes, you can get money for vaccine injuries. Vaccine injuries are rare. You stand a better chance from walking across the street getting hit by a car. I'm gonna say it again. You stand a better chance walking across the street getting hit by a car than actually getting a vaccine injury or dying from a vaccine. You stand a better chance getting struck by lightning than actually being harmed from a vaccine. Vaccines have proven a worth. They have a proven a safety track record. Not unless you have some documents that would actually expose that. Yes, so medicine, pharmaceutical companies, they make billions of dollars off of their pills and things of that nature. The supplement industry that people are running to right now, they make far more money than vaccines do. That's another $1 billion controlled European industry. Okay, so this is the mistake we always make. They actually have a vested interest in keeping you healthy. You say, well, that sounds crazy. So let's go back to the slavery. Let's go back to the plantations. It makes no sense to have a bunch of sick slaves trying to work on a plantation. It makes no sense, right? Because during the antebellum South, it was actually breeding slaves because slavery had become, illegal outside of the colony. So they was breeding. So they gave them the best medical care as possible because you want the babies to come through. That's money. You want the slaves to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning working to sundown. A sick slave ain't getting no work. Well, let's fast forward to now. Sick workers, when the workforce is sick, then business suffer. You can't work, you can't get out, you can't do nothing. So people will make the mistake in saying, yo, why are they trying to, why they want to help us? Because they need healthy workers. America is ran off of business, small business. Corporations need healthy humans. It's not their fault if you don't get health care. It's not your fault if you don't go to the doctors at regular occurrences, right? This is what our community suffer from, is going to the doctors on regular, you know what I'm saying? Men in general, we suffer from not getting checkups every year, right? We suffer from these things. So I'm saying it is important, quote unquote, in America to be healthy enough to take your butt to work. If you think that they care anything past that, then you're crazy. I'm saying they care about having a healthy worker. That's the point I'm trying to make. They don't want you sick people running around here. Sick people don't put out good products. Sick people don't work. So I mean, so science does not depend on trust. People say, well, I don't trust Fauci. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't even know Fauci. What I know is about his work. Out of 2.6 million immunologists, he's ranked number 9. Not because he's Fauci, it's because his work. We don't trust people, how they say it? Black people might lie, white people will lie, but them damn numbers don't. So science is not based off of trust. Now, religion is based off of trust. I trust that Jesus Christ has died for my sins. I can't prove it or verify it, but I trust it. I trust that Muhammad was the prophet. I trust it. You might can't prove and verify that, and I'm not trying to get too far off the subject. I'm simply trying to show you that science is not based off of trust. It's based off of what you can replicate in the lab over and over again. So for instance, let's say we put together a scientific paper saying that the vaccines aren't safe, and we got the numbers, right? First of all, they're not going to put our name on the paper. They're going to send it out in the blind, meaning the next lab that's getting this paper is not going to know where it's coming from, right? So they can't say it comes from Harvard. I know Harvard do good work. No, not going to have Fauci's name on it, not going to have our name on it. They're going to get the raw data. Now, the scientists in other places are going to run the raw data, right? So science is about what you can replicate. So you can't say this is right. No, we want to prove that it's right by being able to do the experiments over and over again. If you say vaccine causes autism, then the data has to play out. We trust the data. Scientists go off of data. This is another point to make you seem like, oh, Fauci and they always change it. Of course. A scientist will change when the data change. People, religious people won't change. Like if you say, hey, we actually dug up Jesus Christ. We found Jesus Christ's body. And we realized that he didn't die on a cross. He actually got ran over by a Roman chariot. How do we know? Because his chest cavity was caved in. We seen the print of the chariot. You can't change that. You can change it. But in science, we can say this month we should wear masks, or we shouldn't wear masks. And then the data changed. We realize that hold on, we need to wear masks. We can say, hey man, don't touch these. Wipe off all these areas. Wipe off the things you touch in metal. Don't touch it. You can catch coronavirus. Then we'll change and say, hey, it's airborne. When the data changes, the scientists will change. As scientists follow the data, and this is what most people don't understand. They think they flip-flopping. They're really not. They're actually following the data. And not to mention, the coronavirus is called the novel. It's called the novel SARS coronavirus 2. Why is it called the novel? Because for the first time in the history of the 350,000 years of humanity, our immune system has came across a brand new pathogen. So it's novel, it's new. So for the first time, scientists are studying this particular version of the coronavirus for the first time. So as they get more data, as they learn more, right, they will change things up, they will switch it. It's part of the process. But those who are on the disinformation campaign, these evil, crazy white people will say, oh, yeah, look at them. They flip flop, they change it. Man, that's not the scientist. So I always told you it was three prongs to it: politics, science, okay, and the media. We follow the science. Dr. Oyamayat, she follows the science. Black people, as we move forward and start to enrich our culture, we will have people amongst us that follows the science. We will become more scientific literate, and scientific literacy is a vaccine against the charlatans that come amongst us. How many people are making thousands of dollars off of herbs now, yo? Off the supplement industry? It's not even regulated, right? And how many people are asphyxiated with the word "this is natural"? Well, wait a minute. I just read how nature kills you. Nature actually kills 99% of all living organisms has been extinct by nature. White people couldn't kill enough black people. Nature kills you. 99% of all living organisms that have resided on planet Earth has been extinct. Anything I say, I can actually source up. So we need to be careful with natural. These are Europeans that own these billion-dollar supplement companies. They're getting rich off of our pain and destruction. Why am I saying our pain and destruction? Because black people suffer the most from coronavirus. More black people in America have died from coronavirus than white people, than the Native American population, and than Mexicans. And we are the least vaccinated based off of a bunch of misinformation and fear. Now, I'm not going to sit up here on this panel and say we don't have good reasons to be afraid, and what we do. But when the leadership is slap crazy in our community, that's when there's a problem. When people like the Nation of Islam is promoting crazy radical white people. Hell, they didn't even allow Martin Luther King into the mosque, right? But they let Jim Jones into the daggone mosque.
But let me let me get
Go ahead.
James to piggyback off that, brother James. You want to follow up with what he was saying, because he was dropping some gems, and he was really educating a lot on how we need to trust science. What's your opinion on that? Because I know that's the difficult part for you.
Not really. It comes right back to the same old people. I disagree with you about, you know what I mean, that they want to keep everybody healthy. I don't agree with that at all, because, you know what I mean, it is too many instances where people, anyway. You know the drug Vioxx. Are you familiar with that drug Vioxx? It got pulled off the market. It was an anti-inflammatory.
What
It got pulled off
How
the
to get
market. All right.
Okay. Yep.
The
I got you.
Merck produced Vioxx. Their scientists came up with like the studies and everything else.
Mhm.
Their scientists were never checked by anybody else. What they did was they paid doctors and other scientists to sign off on the reports to say that this is safe. 60,000 people died because of Vioxx. That's when it got pulled off the shelf. Nobody investigated them. Nobody looked into anything that they were doing until the lawsuit. Once the lawsuit came about and they started digging into Merck and what was going on there, that's when they started to discover that a lot of these papers and everything else were ghostwritten. That these doctors didn't actually do the stuff. These doctors didn't actually do the stuff. The scientists
What's
that
the
they
name of
paid
the
didn't
drug
actually
again,
do
sir?
it.
My fault. What you said the name of the drug
Vioxx.
was again? Could you spell it?
Vioxx. Yeah.
Spell-
You hear me?
Yeah, you said
Vioxx.
G-I. Oh,
V
V-I?
as in victory. Yeah.
Okay, V-I.
OXX.
And so the
Made by
FDA and
Merck.
all that just looked that through, huh?
Made by Merck.
Merck. Spell it. M-E-R.
ICK.
Merck. Okay. Merck. Okay. And you saying the FDA just faked it and let it go through, huh?
They showed their paperwork that okay, that this was the study, this is what happened, but in reality what really happened was Merck was in charge of their own study. Merritt was in charge of their own research. Merritt was in charge of coming up with the papers to say like this drug is safe. And what they did was they paid doctors to go along with it. So when you say
Mm.
follow the science, I don't have a problem with the science. I have a problem with these pharmaceutical companies because these are the types of things that they do to get things pushed through. I'll give you another example. When I was talking to Everett about the Slacker family, the people that produce the Oxycontin, one of the biggest reasons why they were able to, one of the things that they pled guilty to what? To paying off CVS and paying off doctors for people that overdose. That doesn't sound like a company to me that wants people to be healthy.
Brother James?
I'm
Yeah, no,
listening.
Oh, okay, I thought I lost you.
yeah, it doesn't sound like to me for like a company that, you know what I mean, that's somebody that wants to be healthy. But
But
I understand where you're
So
coming from,
let's not
and I
confuse
agree
people.
with you when you're talking about
Yeah,
the
but we
follow the science. But who's the one that's actually doing the science? You know what I mean? And are they actually following their own science? So you telling me that it took Johnson and Johnson 30, 40 years to figure out that asbestos was giving people cancer? Absolutely
did
not.
the
They
what?
just didn't care, didn't
Did the
take it
what?
up.
Did the what was giving people cancer? What?
Asbestos?
Asbestos?
Yes. And the baby powder.
Yeah, so
Are
let's
you
do
telling
this.
me
Let's
that?
not mix it. Yeah,
Huh?
this is what I don't want to do. I don't want to mix up vaccines with medicine because vaccines is the
But the
safest
people that are making the
medicine.
vaccines are the same ones that been making the medicine, is my point.
No,
You're
no,
going through the
you
exact
doing
same
baby powder.
source.
Yeah, but
It's like
you
saying
I'm
like,
saying
oh man, I'm not going to eat Chinese food because I don't know if you know what I mean. They putting rats and this, that, and the third in this whole little thing. But then you turn around and you be like, but I'll get rice from 'em. It's the same people. It's the
yeah,
same
so
cook.
we yeah, you're right, but now you spreading fear now because you're doing something
I'm not trying
that
to, but see, and that's what I said the whole time from the very beginning. I'm not telling anybody not to take the vaccine. What have I said the whole time? You need to make a decision based on what's best for you.
no, I'm
That's it.
saying that
That's all
no,
I said. I never said don't
I'm
take the
saying that
vaccine. Never
no,
said do take the vaccine.
no, that's not what I'm saying, bro. I'm saying the community doesn't get it. So right now you sound real good on that, but the reality is no scientist would mix talcum powder with a vaccine. That's ridiculous. Talcum powder doesn't even have to go through FDA regulations.
It's the
And then
same people. They're
when
the
you talk
same
about
people.
pills,
Is the
they
point.
not, man. You listen. I am telling you that you're making a grave area to mix these things up like that. There is different. I'm not debating you about medicine and pills. Like I think that's horrible the way those pills are pushed out there. But we're talking about vaccines is different, and I can't make you understand that. It's not the same thing. The planet Earth supports vaccines. Cuba, all the things yeah, we like Cuba. Everybody supports vaccines. So I'm just saying it's a more regulated process. It just is. Like, what do you want? What do you want me to do? I didn't get a chance to read the study. I'm gonna read the study on Virex and see what it really is. Right? I know you added some yeast to it. I'm gonna let you have it. We call it an aha moment. You kind of like you got me with that, bro. But I guess I'm gonna have to do a whole
It's
show
not
on it.
even about
And
that.
then you,
It's
let
not
me
even
finish. And
about
then
that.
you,
It's not about
but
that.
you then you make me say they was perfect, like they haven't made mistakes. Like who is saying that? So you cannot talk about talcum powder, vaccines, and pills in the
I'm
same
not even
conversation.
talking about you. Is my point. I'm not even talking about you. I'm not coming at you. I'm not even debating with you.
No, I'm not saying no. I'm saying what you're doing is the listening audience don't realize that talcum powder is totally different from vaccines. All they hear is Johnson and Johnson. Then they put it with the Johnson Johnson vaccine, and there you go. I ain't taking it because of the talcum powder. What do you want me to do? Talcum powder is not regulated. Like this is talcum powder. It's actually considered a cosmetic soap. It's not FDA approved. Johnson talcum powder is not FDA approved. It's a cosmetic. Herbs and supplements, don't eat vitamins aren't even FDA approved. So we're mixing the whole thing up. That's all I'm saying. And this is the problem because it sounds like You kind of got me. I'm like, oh my God, the vines, oh my God. But I understand that it's not the same thing, right? And we can't teach our people that it is, because then that's called miseducation. That's all I'm saying, bro. There are plenty of things in United States history, like the Tuskegee experiment. I hear people say, yo, they shot him with syphilis. They did not shoot you up with syphilis. They did not. And at the time of the study, it was a good study because there wasn't any cure for syphilis. So they were simply watching, studying untreated, quote unquote, Negroes in Alabama. Where it became bananas and crazy is when they actually found the cure for it, penicillin. When they didn't give that, they didn't give them a choice to be able to take it, is when it was crazy. And they extended the damn experiment. But based off of that particular study, which was crazy, right? They can't do that no more. It's regulated. They learned something from that. And that wasn't even sophisticated. Then I'm tired of giving white people credit for stuff they couldn't even do. That's not even sophisticated. Grab a whole lot of black people in the rural South and just don't treat them for 30 years. Like, how sophisticated you got to be for that? But when we talk about killing millions of people with a vaccine and we don't trust them, that's the whole level of sophistication that white people can't do that. They ain't got that kind of power. They can't convince the Chinese government to do nothing. Nobody, that's a bunch of nonsense. So that Varex, I'm gonna read it. Merit, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna see exactly what it's talking about. I got it pulled up. But I do not have a sound answer for you right now on that.
I'm
But
not
I
looking
will
for
tell
an
you that
answer.
that's different.
I'm not looking for an answer. I'm not looking to debate
Keep it
you.
on vaccines for me.
I'm just saying that I do not trust the pharmaceutical companies because they have a long track record of why I shouldn't trust them. I know you keep saying that, oh, well, we're talking about pills and we're talking about vaccination. I'm talking about them in general. In general. If I can't get this from you, why would I turn around and trust to get this from you? That's me. And to be honest with you, before my mother went and got the Johnson and Johnson, but she had a problem with Johnson and Johnson because of the same issue that I just said. She had a problem with him. She was like, I don't want to go and take like 2 or 3 different shots or whatever. I have a problem with them because they knew about something that was in their product that they refused to change until they got sued. And that's the problem. So, you know what I mean? It's not, you know what I mean? So when you're saying like, oh, that's misinformation, this, that, and the third, we're talking about, you know what I mean? Just if I came to you and I'm just like, hey, look, man, you know, this something is wrong with this, and this, and you're like, hey, man, as long as people buying it, I'm gonna just keep pumping it out there. You know what I mean? Then everybody find out you're the person, you know what I mean, making everybody sick off of this over here. But then I'm gonna turn around and be like, all right, well, you know what I mean? Well, this is different. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and try this from you. Of course, I'm going to look at you sideways because I'm going to be like, I don't trust you now. So when I look at Pfizer, I'm going to be like, man, Pfizer, that's the same company that was over in Nigeria, you know what I mean, handing out pills, you know what I mean, and killing kids. Of course, I'm going to look at them funny. And they were testing the vaccine. Of course, I'm going to look at them funny. When we're
You
talking
said
about
what?
AstraZeneca being sued for over $1 billion because they messed with the clinical trials. They changed up the information on clinical trials. When you're talking about the science, that is the science. The clinical trial is the science.
How they find out they messed up the clinical trial?
Whistleblowers in the company.
How they find out?
Huh?
How they find out they messed up the
Whistleblowers in the
clinical trial?
company exposed them.
But they exposed them with the data, didn't they?
Yeah, that the drug worked, that the drug didn't work. It didn't do what they said it was going to do. My point
But
is,
that's
if it
only
wasn't for the
that's
whistleblower,
only known through science, though.
but
So
we're
science
talking
gonna
about
go.
them, we're putting these same people, and again, it's not a one-time thing, and we're putting. You're saying like, oh, we should trust them. We should trust them this time.
No, we
Couldn't trust them
shouldn't. You
last
should give
time
me an
or the
example.
other time.
How about just give me an example of them doing that with vaccines? That'd probably be better for the conversation.
It was a vaccine, is what I'm telling you.
You say what?
It was a
Give
vaccine that
give give that example again. Give that example
they
again.
got the
Yeah, what's the
whistleblowing
vaccine
on
that
the
they just
shown that they had changed the data up on their clinical trials. AstraZeneca,
what's
look it up.
What is it?
AstraZeneca.
You talking about the one that's not approved yet?
Yeah, not this drug, but they were testing out a
No.
vaccine.
What's the name of the vaccine? What's the name for
Give me a
what?
moment. Give me a moment.
But how they found they
I just
but
told
what
you it
you
was a
see?
whistleblower. Somebody at the company turned them in. It was 7 different scientists that came together and turned them in. And they end up spending over $1 billion in fines for messing with the
It
clinical
was
trial.
seven different who?
Scientists
How
that
could you
stepped
trust them?
forward.
How could you trust them?
That's what I'm saying. I don't trust them.
But it was seven scientists that actually turned them in.
Then who turned them in?
I think what Brother Uncle's trying to say is what we talked about earlier when you were coming up with the stats saying why you didn't trust the companies, and I was saying because the companies were getting caught, they were getting caught putting out misinformation, and what he's saying is how did they get caught? Science caught them because the stats eventually came out that they were incorrect. So in a
But my,
sense,
what
they
I'm
got
saying is,
caught,
yes,
but
follow the
right.
science. Yes, follow the science. I get that. I'm with you on that. What I'm saying is, how do we trust them that they're actually following the science when they're constantly being sued and being fined for not following
You
the
ready?
science?
Is you ready though? You ready
That's
for the
what
big
I'm
answer?
saying.
I hope you do understand that the FDA is a board of independent scientists. And so when they bring that data to the FDA, they don't care about nothing about AstraZeneca, Merck. They don't care about none of that. They have their own, it's independent. It's not like they got a group of scientists. Of course, FDA have scientists, but when they form their boards to look at these vaccines, they're independent scientists. They have no locking to the government, none of that. They're independent scientists, and they go over the raw data. And that's why vaccines are so crazy because you can actually put. But they had 9 vaccines they was testing. They put billions of dollars in it, and only 3 made it, dog. 3 out of 9 didn't go past that process. So even if you was faking the numbers on the vaccine, they would have caught you right there. It's checks and balances, man. That's all I'm trying to tell you. Like I tell you, this is
Who
why I
pays the
don't really
FDA
believe
to
this.
do their reports?
You say what?
Who pays the
You say
FDA to
what?
do their reports?
Who does what?
Who pays when the FDA comes up with their report, when they do their study? Who pays for that?
I don't know. You tell me who pays for that. I have no idea who pays the
The
independent
pharmaceutical
scientists.
company pays.
Grant money.
The
Who did
You say
pharmaceutical
what?
company pays.
say that again?
The
Nah,
pharmaceutical company
what
pays.
are you talking about? How? They don't work for no
What do you mean
pharmaceutical
no?
company.
Break
They do
that
The
what?
down.
The
pharmaceutical
independent
company.
scientists
Break
don't work for
that.
the pharmaceutical company.
Break that down,
That's
James, because you got me
conflicting.
confused
Man.
on that.
Look it up, man.
Yeah,
Look it up, man. There's
that's
no need,
conflicting interest. You
look it up, man. Look and see who pays for the
no, you just
FDA report.
no,
It's
you
real
killing me
simple.
now. Yo, you killing me with crazy documents now. Come on, man.
It's a crazy document.
Come on, man. What's the name of the document, man? Just like you did the
What
Virex Merit, yo.
listen, all I said was who pays for the FDA research? Who pays them to go and do like this study on your drug?
And who you saying pays
About
them?
vaccines. We're talking
Who
about
pays them?
vaccines.
Who pays them?
No, we're talking about vaccines, and we're talking about the board.
Who pays
When they,
them? Is all I'm asking you.
it don't matter who pay them. The vaccine company ain't
It
paying them
doesn't.
because they're independent from the vaccine company. They're independent. That's why I said
They're
it.
not
They're
independent
independent.
because they're directly paid by the vaccine company.
How? Is that not conflicting interest? Like that
Look
don't
it
even
up,
like
man.
me and you can't even make that
Look
make
it up,
sense.
man. Look it up, man.
So why would you have an FDA?
That's my point.
Right? Watch this.
That's my point.
Okay, what's the name
I
of the
feel,
document? Man, shoot that
I
to me.
feel
Let
the
me put it in
exact
the
same
back
way.
there.
Why would you have an FDA that is supposed to be investigating
Listen,
companies that are actually paid by that company?
no, you switching it up now. We talking about the system they use to let the
We can
vaccine
talk
get the
about
FDA
vaccine. We can
approved.
talk about whatever it is you want. If you want the FDA to come
No,
and do research on your drug, you pay them.
no, man. We talking about the vaccines, man. They had a
Okay,
board
okay.
of
We're
independent
still talking about the
scientists.
vaccine.
That's that's okay. So you just made that up, and
I,
I'm
no
not
one
even trying
made
to be
that up.
funny.
Okay.
where you reading that from? Where's the name of this? I'm telling you, man. You can't just Google anything on the internet. What's the name of that
It's
paper you
anything
looking
off
at
of
right
Google. I told you to Google it. Google who pays the FDA for their reports. The
now? No, man. Listen.
pharmaceutical company has to pay the FDA for their report. So if you want to know who's actually researching them,
So
the
what?
FDA is
You go
actually
get a
researching
driver's
them, and
license, you
they're
got to pay for it.
independent.
They don't mean they
They
just
get
give you the
funding
driver's
from the
license.
pharmaceutical company.
So hold on.
Look it up, man.
Let me
Listen, man,
interject.
it's
Let me
getting late.
interject.
We can pick
That's
this
a
up in round two,
possibility right
man.
there.
We can pick
Ho-
this up in round two. We can do it next in a couple of weeks, and
I'm
we
gonna
can
let
go through
both
it
of y'all
then.
close out because it is getting late. But I wanted to ask you, brother James, because that was really something that even brother Onk and I think brother Caesar just put in there. What is that info? You're saying that the drug companies pay the FDA for their results, but I mean at the same time that might be kind of like
It's a
a
conflict of interest.
right. I mean, that would be y'all both agree there. So if y'all both agree, we could do a round two because I think we had a lot of people on here, and I think that this is very powerful because both of y'all are dropping some powerful information. I think it's just real important that people in our community, not all that the popular blah blah, but the average people. My son, a college athlete, I coach a lot of kids in school. I coach basketball, so I coach a lot of kids out in the community, and they are all, young men trying to figure out where they should go with this. So both of you guys are providing powerful info. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna connect with Dr. Ma'at, and we all can do a round two, and I can have it to where you can do presentations too, because I know this was like a spur of the moment. It's supposed to be recorded, then I went live. But I want to get all of y'all to close out, and brother Unc, I'm gonna get you to close out first. Just drop some info that you think that the people that might help the people with a decision in taking the vaccine.
Black people will smoke Newports that are FDA regulated. Black people will get a fifth of Thunderbird from the package store. Black people will get in a car and step on the brakes at 85 miles an hour. And how about they don't trust black people that get a bag of dope and sniff it? And how about they don't trust white people? Black people will have a newborn baby, put it in an FDA approved car seat, and claim they don't trust black people. It's a bunch of nonsense because the first time you get sick, you don't say, ho, 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 don't put me in an ambulance. I don't trust white people. I don't trust the science. You take your butt right to Sinai Hospital. Right when I got shot in Baltimore, Maryland, downtown, I went to the trauma center. I didn't say, hey, police, don't put me in the ambulance, don't do it. No, that's a bunch of nonsense. When you open up your refrigerator right now, the brother gonna open up his refrigerator and get a drink. All that food in there is FDA approved. He don't say, hey man, did the company partly fund that? We do none of that. So I'm trying to figure out in the middle of a pandemic, when did we get so slick? Like, when did we get so intelligent to think that we're going to overcome the educational gap to really understand this whole system in a matter of a year? Like when did we do that? Who is doing that to our minds and make us remotely think that we can overturn modern science in a conversation? That just because they're two crazy white companies that did some crooked things, all of a sudden that's the whole system. We never said people was perfect. We said at this juncture, in the middle of a pandemic where black people are affected the most, what is it? This is what I like to ask him. What is it that he got? And I probably should get an answer. What is it that you have? If not vaccines, since we're gonna be UNIA, we're gonna be responsible, we love black people, then responsible leadership and people that are responsible for giving proper information. I'm gonna hit you with this because you had a whole lot of extra with that. What is it that you have for our black community that you trust that will stop a virus in its tracks, that will cause an immune response and protect the black people, if not vaccines? What is it that you got, sir? Please answer that for me, yo. And I'll shut up and say, yo, you got me, dog.
I never said for anybody not to take a vaccine. I never said that I was against vaccines. Ever. Through this whole conversation. You never heard me say that.
Well,
Not
when you
once.
closing out, answer
Not
that
once.
because I want you to
You hear me
close
say
out.
that?
So
Yeah, that's
ask,
not the question. I asked a specific question. I said, since you're promoting not to take the vaccine, we ain't gonna sit up here
I
and act
didn't
like
promote not to take the
everything you
vaccine.
saying
I
ain't.
didn't tell anybody not to take anything.
No,
I
man.
didn't tell anybody
Man, you
to
can't.
take anything. What I
No,
said was
listen.
people need to, what I said was the same thing you said. People need to research the people that are making the vaccine is what I
Okay,
said.
so
That same
Okay, can
thing
you
you
answer
said.
the question?
Follow the science.
Can you
Follow the
answer the
people
question
that are
though?
making it. Follow and see
No,
what it is they're doing. And if you find that they are trustworthy, then take it. If you find that they're not, then do whatever you feel is best for you. What I said was if you really want healthcare, then you should look for sources outside of this country for healthcare, is what I said.
what you
So if
saying?
you have a family member, because a lot of people are married to people from other nations, if there's somewhere that you can go outside of this country for healthcare, then you should do it, is what I
So
said. That
you ain't
not
gonna answer
once
the
did I say
question.
to anybody, don't take the vaccine. Never said to
Okay,
anybody, hey, listen, you know what I
I
mean?
got
They
it.
got such and such over here. They made their own little thing. Go and get that.
All right, well,
Never.
close out. Close out. Don't close out because you
Can we
rambling.
get an
Close out.
answer though? Do you have anything beside that than the
Beside what? I
vaccine?
didn't tell anybody not to take a vaccine. So
No,
what
I'm
do I
not
need to
saying that.
offer them? I didn't tell them not to take
I'm
a
saying, what do
vaccine.
you
What I
taking?
said
So
was
obviously,
do your research. I did said the same thing you said. Do your research.
no, I'm
What's
asking
the
you
problem?
because the research. No, listen. See, this is another problem. There is no research that supports your conversation in that. That's all
Why
I'm
not?
trying to say. There is no
How
research
many
that
times have
says
these people been
vaccines are
sued?
unsafe.
Do your research. If you trust them, then take the vaccine. If you think that it's fine to take the vaccine,
Okay, so let me do this for you. So you don't trust them is obvious. Am I correct?
no. Why would I?
Okay, so then what are you taking right now to keep you from getting sick?
Good question. That was better. That was better.
Exercise.
So human beings for 350,000 years ain't been exercising? Man, let me get off here, man. I give up.
All right.
So he got exercise for us. All right. And I got the
I
dangerous
pay for
vaccine.
you.
All right.
See, there you go. You're saying for everybody. You ask me what am I doing for myself?
Man, come on, man. You cannot think that, that the Egyptians didn't exercise, yo. You can't remotely think that the West Africans wasn't exercising.
I
With
never
all
said that
that
they
being
were.
said,
Listen,
okay, so that didn't work for exercise, though.
listen. Hold on, man. Hold on. You're asking me what am I doing to protect myself, and I told you. What am I telling people to do to protect themselves? I'm telling them to do the exact same thing you said, and that is do the research. Go and look into see how safe this is. But what research do we have? What research do we have? What research do we have that this vaccine is good? You know what I mean? It's not going to cause you long-term effects a year from now. We don't because it hasn't been a year.
No, that's not the truth. We got 225 years that there's no long-term effects. That's why when they went for the EUA, that's why they put it
Hold on,
at
hold on.
60 days.
Stop,
Because after
stop.
30 days, there is no long-term effects ever found. So yeah, let's get this second round. And now I got you. Now I figured out how you was doing it, and we're gonna have fun. I really appreciate you, brother. But
All
I
right.
don't think it's fair to have us afraid of vaccines, but don't have nothing else for us.
Who's
That's
afraid
now
of
that's.
vaccines?
Oh, by the way, hold on. You know what? Tell the truth.
And
You
then you keep
vaccinated.
putting
Am I
words in
correct?
my mouth. Who's afraid of
No,
vaccines?
so we know everybody on this panel is vaccinated, bro. Stop it.
I'm vaccinated. He said he's not. I
He
did
is
get vaccinated.
vaccinated.
Oh,
No,
so he
no,
has
you
some
might not have the
vaccinated.
COVID vaccine.
Oh,
No, you
yeah,
might
we
not
all
have the
got some
COVID
vaccines. Yeah,
vaccine.
yeah,
Okay,
Exactly.
are you vaccinated? Are you
Yeah.
vaccinated?
Have I been vaccinated? Yes.
Yeah, I get.
So,
Okay,
so,
well,
so
you're
stop
still.
telling me
Hold
that I'm
on.
against it.
Let me finish. So you're still vaccinated. You didn't turn into a chicken. You didn't die. You didn't catch none of the diseases that you was vaccinated against. But yet you got the goal to come on here and act like, ow, ow. Come on, man. Like you prove positive that it's working. Oh, hold on. Let me finish this. Let me say this. How many people do we know in Baltimore, Maryland, out of our friends and family that were actually strung out on drugs? Do y'all know anybody?
a lot, a lot.
How about you, brother? How about you, brother?
Brother
I know a
James.
person. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know anybody, any family members, friends strung out on drugs?
Yeah.
Okay, you know anybody that's been locked up in prison and jail?
Yeah.
You know anybody that's been killed with gun violence or just being shot by guns?
I don't think so.
You know anybody that dropped out of high school and college?
Yeah.
How many people you know died from a vaccine? And your immediate family and friends?
None.
That's a good
Thank you.
point.
You got your answer. I'm done. We don't got to
Okay.
get to the second conversation. Obviously, that's not a trained issue in our community dying from a vaccine. Get the daggone shot if you want to. Do some
Did I say
research.
somebody was going to die?
The point I'm trying to
You have a
make
good
is,
night, man. We'll do round two. I'll see you then.
yeah,
Oh,
but we need to understand research or like Just Googling something ain't research. Just
Listen,
Googling,
who said anything
oh,
about Google? You making all these assumptions, man.
I'm not
You're
saying
making
you, but I
all of
didn't say
these
you,
assumptions.
brother.
When
I'm
I
not gonna
came on,
disrespect
I gave you every news article. When I came on, every single news article, every last one.
So
you. Oh
look,
my
this is
God.
what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a round two. Like I said, I'm gonna let y'all be able to screen share so we can provide the evidence so people can actually see it. So you're
It's a
not just
research
saying
question. So
right,
the research question should be: are vaccines safe?
right,
Regardless of how crazy white people is and evil and tricking us, are they safe? That should be the research. Can we agree to that?
yes,
Since because they messing up the vaccines and gonna slip something in for black people, right? So that's gonna be part of it. I know they
right.
slipped it in
So
on
that
us.
that can work. That can work. So go ahead, brother James, close out so we can end this, brother. Go ahead, close out.
Now, again, go do the research, look and see if it's a reputable company. If you don't feel as though it's a reputable company and you have access to something else, I would definitely go outside of this country and do something else. This country and most of these companies have shown that they are not trustworthy. Whether you agree with me or not, look at their track record. They're paid over billions and billions of dollars in fines for actually being just that, not reputable. They're drug dealers and they treat you just like a drug dealer. They want you to just come and get the product and move on. If you get messed up over the product, that's your problem. That's it, man.
All right, all right. So I'm gonna close out myself, man. First of all, I want to thank Brother Unc. Thank you, Dr. Ma'a, for connecting us. We're gonna push to do this round two because it was definitely a heated discussion. And you guys know after I do the video, I push it out, through our Real Truth and Media platform. So we're gonna really pay and promote it because this is powerful information. I think that everybody needs to see that that this is a conversation that's going on. I'm having this conversation now with my son, and he's playing sports, and he's his last year playing basketball, D1. So I want to make sure that we get good information out. And I want to shout out to the panel as well because, when we talked about passionate things, it gets heated, but these brothers were respectful to each other and really questioning and challenging each other. And that's why I don't say we had debates here. We had powerful intellectual builds. So I want to thank you, Brother Ankh. Shout out to my queen, Dr. Ma'at, for blessing the platform and everybody that chimed in today. Mike Surgeon, hit me up, man. You had some information, and you can, we can get you on as well. And I want to thank you guys again. Man, we've been doing a lot of work in the community, but it doesn't stop. We just got to keep getting and providing good information for the people. And we got a lot more coming for you again. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Truth and Power. We are out of here. Again, thank you. And it's a blessing to just be able to provide this platform for you. We out. Hold tight.
Real truth and power. Health,
Hey, you still there?
wealth.